Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. American Comics. Level 5 Mutants start with Gojo Satoru. Chapter 61. Even after leaving the White Devil's villa and returning to the space carrier, Hitwill was still afraid. Even though he was a top agent with a very high psychological quality, he never wanted to try again because he felt powerless in the face of creatures far more powerful than himself. After knocking on the door of Alexander Pierce's office and getting permission, Hitwill walked in. On the way back to the space carrier, Hitwill informed Alexander Pierce of all the matters of the operation. When he saw Pierce at this time, he immediately asked in confusion, "Sir, will the White Devil really abide by the agreement and not hinder our plan?" Alexander Pierce turned around and looked at his proud subordinate with his back to the French window. Since the death of Crossbones, Hitwill has been his only right-hand man. He looked a little tired, and said helplessly, "Even if he doesn't comply, we have no way. The reason why we gave him the obelisk was just to delay time. According to the news from my ears and eyes, the military has a new plan against the White Devil. We need to appease the White Devil until that plan is implemented. But the military's plan against the White Devil has never succeeded." Hitwill subconsciously retorted. Alexander Pierce was silent for a moment, and after a moment he continued. "Our current main task is still the Insight Plan. As long as this plan is implemented, Hydra will become the ruler of the world. When we master all the power in the world, we will definitely find a way to kill the White Devil. And, I can't wait to see Nick Fury's horrified expression. I wonder what he will do when he finds out that S.H.I.E.L.D. is already Snake Shield." At this point, Alexander Pierce's frown because of the White Devil finally relaxed, and his face became happy again. Seeing this, Hitwill said respectfully with great foresight, "Your plan will surely be successfully implemented, Hydra. Long live Hydra." Alexander Pierce also smiled and said, "Hail Hydra." The two former Hydra agents guarding the office door outside the door, now loyal agents of the S.H.I.E.L.D. Bureau, vaguely heard the movement inside the door and smiled at each other. They are also looking forward to it. After sending Hitwill away, Sumu attracted the clothes over, put on the clothes and stomped his feet gently on the ground. Through the precise energy manipulation of the six eyes, the scattered energy dissipated from his feet, annihilating all the bloodstains without leaving a trace. The surrounding environment immediately returned to cleanliness, and then used the mind gem to appease the emotions of many Hollywood actresses, and Sumu continued to practice his skills. But before he could practice for long, the six eyes caught two figures flying towards him at high speed again. However, unlike the impatience of the Hydra agents, after seeing the people coming clearly, Suemu's eyes were full of surprise, because his express delivery had arrived. With a slight movement of his mind, a portal quickly opened in front of his eyes. The speed was so fast that Thor, who was flying, could not react immediately and suddenly crashed into it. He suddenly saw Sumu in front of him, and his face changed drastically. Because he was suddenly teleported, he could no longer take back his beloved hammer and was about to hit Sumu. Even though he knew that Sumu was very powerful, he still didn't think Sumu could resist being hit head-on by Mjolnir. Because this was a weapon blessed by Father Odin. If you don't have a power close to Odin, or even surpass Odin, it is almost impossible to take it head-on. He warned loudly, "Sumu, get out of the way." But Sumu was unmoved. His eyes were completely on Jane Foster, who was hugged by Thor. In the energy vision of the six eyes, the surging red energy kept entangled in her body. Such terrifying energy was hotter than the sun and more majestic than the Milky Way. If this energy exploded instantly, it would be enough to easily destroy the entire galaxy. However, such a strange energy was entangled with Jane Foster, a mortal, in a special fluid state, and did not kill her immediately, but deprived her of her life at a slow speed. Obviously, this is the reality gem, the express delivery that Sumu has been waiting for a long time. Facing the hammer that was about to hit him, Sumu stretched out a finger and gently tapped on Thor's hammer. Vector operation. The powerful impact from Thor's hammer was immediately reflected and rushed towards Thor without any loss. And because of his emotional excitement, Sumu subconsciously released the repulsive force and applied it to Thor's hammer, causing Thor's hammer to fly backwards at a faster speed. Boom! A thunder sounded in the sky, and Thor's hammer hit Thor's chest, knocking him out instantly. Hit by the terrifying force, Thor suddenly flew out of the sea view villa and crashed into the sea surface in the distance, forming a huge wave tens of meters high. Su-Mu ignored Thor, who was knocked away, grabbed Jane Foster's hand, and immediately performed the reversal spell and used the six eyes to sense the reaction of the reality gem, and immediately felt sure. The level 4 reversal spell can really restore the reality gem to a solid state. Su-Mu held Jane Foster's hand tightly and said to her affectionately, "Miss Jane, don't worry, I will definitely cure you." Jane Foster pointed to the huge waves that were about to submerge the Seaview Villa dozens of meters behind Su-Mu, and was about to say something. Su-Mu thought of Thor, so he held Jane Foster's palm tightly with one hand, continuously performing the reversal spell, and stretched the other hand behind him. A huge repulsive force emanated from his palm, instantly dispersing the huge waves dozens of meters high, smoothing the sea surface, and then the terrifying gravity was released from his palm, and Su-Mu accurately acted on Thor hundreds of meters below the sea surface, and then attracted him. Under the huge gravity, Thor flew towards him quickly. Even the Thor's hammer in his hand was no exception, and the speed was faster than when he actively used Thor's hammer. Being hit so hard by Mjolnir, even Thor, who had not awakened the power of Thor, could not bear it. His consciousness was blurred at this time, and it took a while to come back to his senses. The moment he saw Su-Mu, he immediately recalled what had just happened, and looked at Su-Mu in shock. "Su-Mu, you actually stopped Mjolnir with just one finger." In Thor's cognition, except for the father god Odin, no one has ever been able to resist Mjolnir head-on, let alone using only one finger. Because if someone can resist Mjolnir head-on, it means that person can pick up Thor's hammer and gain the power of Thor. This makes him feel like he's been cheated. Because he's about to get the reality gem, he's in a good mood, so Su-Mu smiled brightly at Thor. "It's just a hammer, why are you so shocked? But your girlfriend is really good." "Oh no, I mean the reality gem in her body is really good. I can help your girlfriend take out the reality gem, so you can rest assured to hand your girlfriend to me." Knowing that Jane was about to be saved, Thor was not as happy as he imagined, and he felt that the green on his head was even more intense. "But don't worry, in the next red giant incident, he will be dead soon." Jane was invaded by ether particles in an abandoned warehouse. At this time, the ether particles were constantly eroding her life. If the ether particles were not stripped out of her body as soon as possible, she would die quickly. "Because you once told us that Jane came to see you when she became ill, so we came here. Sure enough, you have the ability to heal Jane." Quote. Although he felt like he was being cheated, Saul still looked at Su-Mu gratefully. Through precise energy manipulation, Su-Mu continuously separated the ether particles from Jane Foster. Perhaps sensing Su-Mu's behavior, the ether particles spontaneously generated energy fluctuations and attacked Su-Mu. However, because no one was controlling it, it was just an instinctive counterattack to protect himself. It could not have much impact on Su-Mu, and was easily resolved by Su-Mu. Keeping one hand in contact with Jane Foster, Su-Mu smiled at Saul. "You should just come to me. Jane's situation is too special now. The ether particles are blended with her body. In this situation, even Odin can hardly remove the ether particles from her body. Maybe the only way is to deal with it. Only dark elves who have studied ether particles can do it. Of course, I can also, and can even help Jane recover her body that was damaged by etheric particles, and help her return to normal so that she will not suffer from cancer in the future." Quote. "Cancer. Will Jane get cancer in the future?" Saul asked nervously after hearing Su-Mu's words. Su-Mu nodded and explained. "After all, ether particles have extremely high radiation, but compared to this matter, I suggest you still care about Asgard. When the ether particles appear, the 9 realms will be reunited, and the dark elves will naturally wake up from their slumber. And the first thing they did when they woke up was naturally to attack their old enemy Asgard. Now that Odin is old and you have left Asgard, Asgard no longer has anyone who can compete head-on with the cursed warriors, so Asgard is probably in danger now." Quote. Thor's expression changed drastically. He naturally knew about the grudges between the Dark Elves and Asgard, and understood that what Su-Mu said was most likely the truth, so he shouted to the sky. "Heimdall, let me go back quickly." But even though Thor called many times, Heimdall still didn't respond. At this time, Thor suddenly felt strong uneasiness in his heart, and realized that what Su-mu said was true. There must be something wrong with Heimdall, otherwise he would not fail to respond to his request. What should I do? I can't return to Asgard without the Rainbow Bridge. Thor is extremely anxious. If Asgard is really attacked by the Dark Elves when he leaves, then he will fall into eternal regret. Just when he was extremely anxious and unable to do anything, Su-mu put his other hand on his shoulder, and the powerful force from his arm almost made him fall to the ground, just like what he liked to do to Loki before, but now he has become the victim. Su-mu's voice came from the side. I can help you return to Asgard, and I can also help you repel the Dark Elves, but after everything is over, you need to hand over the Box of Frost, the Eternal Fire, and the Infinity Gauntlet. Me, as a reward for helping you. After hearing Su-mu's words, Saul was overjoyed and immediately agreed. Okay, as long as you help me fight off the Dark Elves, then I will give these 3 treasures to you. Hearing Thor's nod, Su-mu grinned. Now Odin is not dead yet. Although Odin is old and cannot take action easily, this does not mean that his strength is weakened. On the contrary, because Asgardians have a special physique that becomes more powerful as they age, Odin is also the most powerful when they are about to die. The reason why you can't take action easily is just because the energy in your body is too strong and your old body can't bear it, which makes you unable to take action. Once Odin takes action with all his strength, he will definitely die, but before he dies, he will explode with huge power. Even then, even the Supreme Mage will not be his opponent. So if possible, Su-mu would not rob openly at all, but would use transactions to get what he wanted from Asgard. Thor looked at Su-mu doubtfully, observing how he helped him return to Asgard. Then he saw Su-mu tap the void in front of him, and a portal that continuously spattered bright sparks was formed in front of him. Thor was stunned. He recognized that this was the portal that suddenly appeared in front of him before, and the other end of the portal is the Rainbow Bridge that he is familiar with. Unexpectedly, this method of transmission can be used to transmit such a long distance. According to Su-mu's performance, this method of transmission is extremely fast and extremely convenient. It is actually a more powerful method of transmission than the Rainbow Bridge. Use the screen in the movie to open the portal to Asgard. Unlike the low-level portals, the LV3 portal does not require Su-mu to go there, and you can open the portal anywhere in the screen. According to his guess, the LV4 portal will not require a screen. You only need to know your own needs to open the portal to the target location. He only needs to wait until then. He can easily find Stryker's whereabouts, and then crush this overestimating insect to death. Opening the portal, Su-mu stepped out and pulled Jane Foster back to Asgard. At this time, Asgard is completely caught in the flames of war. Various black-skinned and pointed-eared dark elves and prisoners released from the dungeon are constantly destroying and fighting against Asgard warriors. Heimdall, who was guarding the Rainbow Bridge, was obviously besieged by a dozen dark elves, so that he was exhausted from dealing with the attacks of many dark elves and could not respond to Thor's request to open the Rainbow Bridge to help Thor return to Asgard. When the portal was opened, the dazzling portal immediately attracted everyone's attention. Everyone looked at the portal nervously, not knowing whether the arrival was an enemy or a friend. They first saw Su-mu and Jane Foster walking out of the portal, and immediately fell into silence. After all, they had never known that there were such strong men in the 9 realms. However, when they saw Thor walking out later, the warriors of Asgard immediately roared excitedly. Thor, Thor, Thor! In contrast to the warriors of Asgard, the Dark Elves and others fell into panic. Thor has fought in the 9 realms for thousands of years, and almost everyone knows the name of Thor. Seeing Thor's return at this time, they all looked ugly, because the Asgardians had an extra powerful fighting force. At this time, a tall dark elf walked out of the many dark elf warriors, and he suddenly rushed towards Thor. Facing the dark elves who provoked him, the hot-tempered Thor naturally would not escape. He also rushed over, but when the two of them just confronted each other, Thor, who was invincible in the eyes of the Asgard warrior, was actually punched out and completely fell into a disadvantage. After knocking Thor away, the cursed warrior spit heavily at Su-mu and the other two, and made a provocative gesture of cutting his throat. He shouted loudly, "A mere Thor and 2 cowardly mortals from Midgard are not worth mentioning at all." The dark elves behind him were in high spirits when they saw this, and they kept shouting loudly. Cursed warrior, cursed warrior, cursed warrior. Seeing the scene in front of him, Sumu showed a gentle smile to the cursed warrior, and the terrifying red and black lightning in his other free hand suddenly erupted. The spell reverses the folding space of Kang, leading Sumu and Jane Foster to cross a distance of tens of meters and appear in front of the cursed warrior in an instant. A black-red singularity quickly formed in the palm of his hand, and then Sumu quickly pressed it towards the face of the cursed warrior. Although they said they were just two cowardly Midgardians, when they saw Sumu walking out of the portal, the cursed warrior did not slack off. Although he did not know what special abilities Sumu had, the cursed warrior knew that Sumu were definitely not mortals. At this time, Sumu suddenly disappeared from the place and appeared in front of him. Although he was a little surprised, the cursed warrior reacted immediately and crossed his arms in front of his chest. Feeling the power in his body that is more powerful than Thor, he has absolute confidence that he can withstand the next blow from the Midgardians. After all, the Midgardians cannot be stronger than Thor, right? However, when his arm collided with the black-red singularity, his complexion immediately changed drastically. The cursed warrior was even more powerful than the Hulk at high anger, but when his hard arm just came into contact with the black-red singularity, it immediately shattered and was crushed into broken flesh and blood by the terrifying repulsion. Even after the terrifying black-red singularity destroyed his arm, its speed only dropped slightly, and then it rushed towards his head at extremely high speed. Danger! 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 The cursed warrior tried his best to move his head to the side, trying to avoid the terrifying black-red singularity, but even if he tried his best to avoid it, a small part of his head was still hit by the black-red singularity, and then the right half of his face was hit by the terrifying repulsion. The bottom completely shattered and turned into powder. Fortunately, because of the attack, he was also knocked away by the terrifying repulsion, and flew into the water under the Rainbow Bridge at high speed together with the black-red singularity, far away from the terrible Midgardian. Boom! The huge sound caused by the collision between the black-red singularity and the cursed warrior's body attracted the attention of everyone on the battlefield. All the Asgardian soldiers and Dark Elf soldiers who were fighting stopped their movements in tacit agreement and looked at the Rainbow Bridge together. The white-haired Midgardians. They were either dumbfounded, in disbelief, or slapped themselves thinking that everything today was just a dream. After all, are these really cowardly and primitive Midgardians? How could there be such a strong person among them? It was only then that Jane Foster, a mortal, realized that because Sumu had to keep in contact with her and strip the reality gem from her body, she had never been separated from her. The spell he just used to reverse the teleportation of Kang even brought her with him. At this time, around her and Sumu, there was the blood of the cursed warrior floating in the air. After Sumu instantly defeated the cursed warrior, she, a mortal, knew what had just happened. As an ordinary person, Jane Foster immediately screamed when she experienced such a thing. Sumu was a little impatient and used vector manipulation to control the vibration of Jane Foster's vocal cords, making her unable to speak. Then she looked to the side and saw that the cursed warrior jumped out of the water and fled away into the distance. Seeing this, Sumu looked at the cursed warrior who had arrived several kilometers away, with a ferocious arc on his face. He stretched out his palm towards the cursed warrior, and the terrifying gravity was accurately acted on the cursed warrior. Just one blow made the cursed warrior understand the gap between him and Sumu. He had just been almost killed by that terrifying Midgardian with one blow. No, report to Malekith, the leader of the Dark Elves, immediately and evacuate immediately. With the help of such terrifying Midgardians, even if Odin is unable to exert his power, their plan will definitely fail. With the speed of the cursed warrior, he can advance hundreds of meters in one jump. He can reach Malekith in just 10 seconds and tell him the news. The Dark Elves must not perish in their generation. However, just as he rushed out of the sea and headed towards the depths of Asgard, he suddenly found that his body was pulled by a huge force. Instead of being able to move forward, he was moving backwards very quickly. He immediately turned around and looked behind him, his expression suddenly becoming desperate. I saw the white-haired Midgardian reaching out and holding it in vain, and a strong gravity was released from the Midgardian's palm, pulling him backwards. Even if his fingers tore the ground beneath his feet and even caused 2 deep scratches on the hard Rainbow Bridge, he still couldn't stop him from retreating. And as the gravity continued to increase, he was finally unable to withstand the unmatched gravity, and flew backwards. So he could only desperately use all his strength to attack the Midgardian, but before he could get closer, he saw an even more terrifying black-red singularity forming in his palm, and then suddenly attacked him fly over. This time he couldn't escape, he could only watch the black-red singularity approaching, desperately waiting for death. Boom! The terrifying repulsive force instantly crushed the body of the cursed warrior and continued to spread toward the rear. Under Su-Emu's precise control, the black-red spheres continued to destroy the bodies of the Dark Elves one after another, then passed through the sea and disappeared into the void outside Asgard. Seeing Su-Mu instantly killing the cursed warrior, Thor showed a shocked expression. It had been a while since he had seen Su-Mu. Why had Su-Emu's strength been so greatly improved? He remembered that although Su-Mu was powerful before, he was not so powerful. As for the other Dark Elves who had not come into contact with Su-Mu, or the warriors of Asgard, they could not believe it. In the previous battles, they already knew the power of the cursed warrior. He was even stronger than Thor, the god of thunder. However, such a powerful warrior was killed instantly by the Midgardians in front of him, and even his body could not be left. Ignoring the minions in front of him, Su-Mu turned back and greeted Thor, who had climbed up. "Come up quickly." Then he took Jane and stepped out into the battlefield. The current situation in Asgard seemed different from what he imagined. It seemed that the Dark Elves did not have only one cursed warrior, but there were 5 within the observation range of the 6 eyes. However, Su-Mu was not surprised. After all, he had already known that the universe he was currently in was just a parallel universe that was very similar to the movie universe. According to the complexity of the Marvel world, he would not be surprised no matter what happened. Because the technique of Kang reached level 4, teleportation was no longer a miracle, but a real overlap of 2 spaces. Therefore, with Su-Emu's protection, Jane Foster could also withstand the pressure of space jump. Su-Mu repeatedly teleported on the battlefield like a phantom. He would use the spell to turn Kang to move long distances from time to time, or use the unlimited spell to move quickly at close range. Whenever he appeared in a position, all the Dark Elves within a radius of 5 meters were killed by the invisible space slash. Everyone had originally focused their attention on Su-Mu. Seeing this horrifying scene, the Dark Elves could no longer bear the fear in their hearts. They shouted in despair. "No, he is a devil, a messenger of death, we can't defeat him. Run, run quickly, otherwise we will all be killed by him." All the Dark Elves were in absolute panic, ignoring their opponents and fleeing madly into the distance. But their speed was too slow in front of Su-Mu, and they could not escape the hunting of the god of death. Su-Mu kept flashing and harvesting the lives of the Dark Elves. In a short moment, he killed all the Dark Elves in his sight and sent them into the arms of the goddess of death. At this time, Thor, who kept using Mjolnir to hurry on his way, finally caught up with Su-Mu and came to his side. Thor looked at the scene in front of him in shock. The attack that Asgard could hardly deal with was easily solved by Su-Mu. Just when he wanted to thank Su-Mu, he suddenly heard Su-Mu say, "Stand still." Then he felt that the surrounding environment suddenly changed dramatically. Under the strong gravity, the space around Su-Mu and the other 2 was folded and distorted with the space in the distance. When Thor came to his senses, he found that he was no longer on the Rainbow Bridge. In front of him was a familiar and gorgeous room, and his mother was being strangled by another cursed warrior. At this time, her face was flushed and she couldn't breathe. Mother Goddess. Seeing this scene, Thor immediately rushed up and swung Mjolnir to attack the cursed warrior, but when the powerful Mjolnir approached the cursed warrior, he was slapped aside by him. Following Mjolnir, Thor, who was punching the cursed warrior, was also punched away by another cursed warrior and embedded in the hard wall of the Asgard. This is impossible. Seeing his beloved hammer being easily knocked away by the enemy in front of him, Thor's breathing stagnated, his body stiffened, and he looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. In just one day, his hammer was blocked twice head-on. This has never happened in his 5,000 years of life. After Su-Mu and the other 2 suddenly appeared, Malekith, the leader of the Dark Elves, immediately turned his head and stopped interrogating Felicia, but stared at Jane Foster standing next to Su-Mu. He looked at Jane Foster with intoxicated eyes, and murmured to himself, "Oh, Ether, you will come back on your own initiative, you belong to me. However, as he perceived it more deeply, he immediately found that the current state of ether was not right, and its energy properties became more and more lazy. This was obviously not what the Dark Elves wanted to see. What they wanted was active ether, a fluid reality gem, so that they could manipulate the power of the reality gem and plunge the 9 realms into absolute darkness. Malekith looked at Su-Mu on the side, focusing his eyes on the palms of the 2 people who had been in contact all the time. It was from there that the ether particles began to become abnormally lazy, and even had a tendency to transform into solids. He stared at Su-Mu and said to him with a ferocious face, "Human, no matter what you did, let it go." Seeing that Su-Mu ignored him, Malekith pointed at Su-Mu angrily and said, "Kill him for me, crush all his bones bit by bit, and then bring that human woman to me." Yes, there were 5 cursed warriors in total. One of them rushed towards Thor, grabbed his legs, threw him to the ground, and then kept swinging his fists to attack his face, beating him unconscious. The remaining 4 cursed warriors rushed towards Su-Mu. Their eyes were bloodthirsty, and their armor emitted hot energy light. The Dark Elves did not take Su-Mu seriously at all. In the entire Asgard, the only person they were afraid of was Odin, but Odin was old and could not easily take action. At this time, he was dragged by the Dark Elves who invaded other areas and could not arrive in time. They had already anticipated their victory. Malekith looked at Su-Mu with contempt. This human, even if this human had a little special power, was not taken seriously by him. Among humans, only the supreme mage of Kamar-Taj would make him afraid, and the others were just cowardly ants. Frigga saw this scene and immediately shouted to Su-Mu, "Young man, run away, notify Odin, and let him come to save us." But it was too late. The nearest curse warrior had already reached out to grab Su-Mu's neck, ready to completely control him, and then crush his bones bit by bit according to the leader's order. Boom! The sound of breaking the sound barrier suddenly sounded at this time, and a figure suddenly disappeared from everyone's sight, smashing the hard wall blessed by magic, and disappeared at the end of the field of vision. The sudden scene made everyone sluggish, and everyone stopped moving, looking at the seemingly cowardly earthlings in front of them in disbelief. The remaining black and red lightning on his feet hit the ground, leaving deep scratches. After kicking a curse warrior away, Su-Mu ignored the 3 promoted curse warriors and slowly walked towards Malekith, the leader of the Dark Elves. "You mean, you want to crush my bones little by little? This is not a good idea to torture people. I have a better way. Do you want to try it?" Although the tone was asking, everyone heard the flavor of command from this sentence. No, this is not an order, it seems to be a judgment. It is a condescending judgment. This earthling seems to treat the Dark Elves as nothing. After hearing Su-Mu's condescending words, Malekith came back to his senses from the shock, but although he looked solemn, he was still not panicked. The strength of the earthling in front of him obviously exceeded his imagination, and even exceeded his understanding of earthlings, but that was all. Under the joint siege of several cursed warriors, he didn't think that this earthling could win. Go! After receiving the order from Malekith, several cursed warriors attacked Su-Mu together. Boom! The terrifying fist broke through the speed of sound, and attacked Su-Mu with a piercing sonic boom. Because the cursed warriors who kept beating him also attacked Su-Mu, Thor got a breathing time. He came to Felicia, protected her behind him, and then looked at Su-Mu worriedly. The strength of each cursed warrior far exceeded him. If he was besieged by 4 cursed warriors, he couldn't even resist a wave of attacks and would be beaten to death. Even if Su-Mu was also stronger than him, he didn't think Su-Mu could win this battle. His only hope for Su-Mu was to hold on until his father arrived. This was their only chance to win. But Thor is just a hammer god. He has not yet awakened and cannot sense the gap between Su-Mu and it. In his cognition, Su-Mu can resist Mjolnir, and the Curse Warrior can also block Mjolnir. Even if Su-Mu is stronger than the Curse Warrior, he is also limited and cannot be the opponent of several Curse Warriors. However, in fact, the strength of the two is not at the same level at all. The attack of the Curse Warrior is within 5 meters of Su-Mu, and then it cannot move forward. They keep attacking Su-Mu, but they can't get close to him at all. Instead, Su-Mu suddenly disappeared from the spot, came to a Curse Warrior, stretched out his finger and touched his forehead. The vector operation and repulsion worked together, and the hard head of the curse warrior exploded in an instant, breaking like an ordinary watermelon. The sudden reversal slowed down the movements of all the cursed warriors. Why did this Midgardian easily kill their companions with just one finger? The cursed warriors subconsciously slowed down their movements, but Sumyu would not. He took another step forward, came to another cursed warrior, stretched out his free hand to pinch his cheek. The next moment, black and red lightning suddenly broke out between the two, and the cursed warrior's head immediately shattered, and another cursed warrior died in an instant. The remaining two cursed warriors immediately reacted and realized that the Midgardian in front of them was not the cowardly human they originally thought, but a terrible monster. Can they win? Guaranteed to lose. Instantly killing a cursed warrior, this absolute strength suppression also means that they are not the opponent of this Midgardian. With such a terrifying strength suppression, they even doubted whether Odin could do this. Based on their strong combat intuition, they immediately used the best way to deal with it. A cursed warrior immediately ran back, grabbed Malekith, smashed the wall and rushed towards the spaceship in the distance. The other cursed warrior was the last one to throw the black hole grenade on his waist towards Sumyu. The black hole grenade is an extreme technological creation of the Dark Elves, with extremely powerful lethality. After the black hole grenade explodes, a temporary terrifying black hole will be generated with the explosion point as the center. This black hole will devour everything around it and attract everything within the gravitational range into it. It is so powerful that even the cursed warrior who can easily defeat Thor cannot survive in the terrifying black hole. The black hole grenade is the most powerful weapon of the Dark Elves besides the ether particles. He believes that as long as the black hole grenade explodes around this Midgardian, even if it cannot kill him, he can seriously injure him. But the most difficult thing now is how to detonate this grenade around this Midgardian. After a brief thought, he gritted his teeth and rushed directly towards the terrifying Midgardian. Now I just hope that the special space defense of this terrifying Midgardian just now cannot be used for a long time, otherwise even if the black hole grenade explodes 5 meters away from him, it can only cause him minor injuries. When he was 5 meters away from the Midgardians, the curse warrior was extremely nervous. Whether he would succeed depended on this moment. The next moment, he broke through the 5-meter field that was out of reach before and entered the 5-meter range of the Midgardians, which made the curse warrior look ecstatic. Sure enough, the almost unsolvable defense just now could not last at all. The curse warrior suddenly pounced on Sumyu, stretched out his arm and detonated the black hole grenade in his palm at close range around Sumyu. The twisted force field suddenly erupted from the place where the black hole grenade exploded, instantly tearing the arms of the curse warrior. In the face of death, the curse warrior did not show fear, but showed a crazy excitement, waiting for the powerful enemy in front of him to die with him. Sacrificing him alone to clear the way for the Dark Elves to enter the 9 realms together, this sacrifice is undoubtedly the supreme honor. Looking at the curse warrior in front of him, his face showed an extremely crazy joy. If it were not for the confirmation that there was no crazy fire in the Marvel world, Sumyu would have thought that the Dark Elves were burned by the crazy fire. However, he immediately transferred his perception from the curse warrior to the black hole that was gradually spreading in front of him. Because of the powerful reaction ability given by the LV4 Six Eyes, Sumyu's concept of time is different from that of ordinary people. He can adjust his perception of the speed of time at will. In normal times, his perception of the speed of time is almost the same as that of ordinary people, but when he encounters danger, the objects around him will pause, and the strong nerve reflex makes him see the world around him as if it is still. This is originally the exclusive ability of the speedster, but after the Six Eyes were upgraded to LV4, Sumyu naturally obtained it. This is also the reason why he can easily kill Quicksilver. At this time, the black hole continued to expand in front of it until it swallowed the arms of the cursed warrior, and the powerful gravity was about to spread to the surroundings. If he stood here alone, then even if the power of the black hole increased tenfold, it would not affect him at all. The terrifying gravity would be offset by the repulsive force and turned into nothingness. But at this time, there are still Thor and others around, and even Jane who is possessed by ether particles. They can't bear this force. Not only because he received the reward, he must protect the safety of Thor and others, but also because of Jane who is possessed by ether particles. Will her death cause the ether particles to run wild? This is a problem. This is also the reason why Sumu temporarily closed the limitless limit and let the cursed warrior get close. So he stretched out his hand, and the vector manipulation and energy absorption worked together on the terrifying black hole in front of him. The level 1 vector manipulation obviously cannot completely offset the huge energy generated by the black hole, but its effect makes it easier for energy absorption to absorb the energy bursting from the black hole. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. The black hole shrank visibly with the naked eye. Everything was done in the blink of an eye. In the eyes of others, it was Sumu who stretched out his hand, and then the terrifying black hole was compressed. The black hole and Suemu's palm kept colliding, and black and red lightning kept bursting out from the palm, shattering the surrounding ground. Finally, under the incredulous eyes of the cursed warriors, and the astonished gazes of Thor and others, accompanied by the continuous flashes of black and red lightning, the terrifying black hole was crushed by Sumu with one hand, and it could not affect him at all. You. Seeing this, the cursed warrior was incoherent because of excessive shock. Not only did the black hole grenade fail to affect the Midgardians in front of him, but it was easily annihilated by his one hand. This was undoubtedly beyond his cognition. The Six Eyes observed that Malekith was approaching the Dark Elf spaceship. If he didn't catch up, he might really let them escape. So Sumu smiled brightly at the cursed warrior in front of him, and the black and red singularity formed in an instant, instantly annihilating the cursed warrior in front of him. The black and red singularity continued to move forward, and flew very quickly to the broken wall hole, just hitting the first cursed warrior, who was kicked away by Sumu and returned from a very far distance, killing him just as easily. After dealing with the two cursed warriors, Sumu took a step forward and came to the edge of Asgard. The huge dark elf warship was slowly disappearing. He grinned and blocked the mouth of Jane, who was constantly shouting because she was floating in the air, and then made a pre-seal. Virtual style. See. The azure black hole and the black and red singularity were quickly generated, and then merged to form a purple illusion mass that continuously released lightning. Control the illusion mass to deform and form a long sword hundreds of meters long. Sumu swung the long sword suddenly, and the long sword condensed by the illusion mass cut the dark elf warship in half without any resistance, dividing it into two parts. This slash just cut off the heads of the two promoted cursed warriors, and Malekith was not injured at all because of his height. So he could only watch in despair as Sumu took a step forward, came to him, and smiled at him gently. Let me tell you what the most cruel torture is. Malekith wanted to resist, but the powerful distortion field forcibly controlled his body, making it impossible to move. The mind gem appeared around Sumu, flashing a subtle yellow light, and Malekith's perception was immediately magnified countless times. At this time, even the friction between the skin and the clothes became a torture-like slow slicing under the perception magnified countless times. Sumu tapped Malekith lightly, and powerful energy began to burst out from under his feet, decomposing his body bit by bit. During this process, he remained awake and could not fall into a coma. He could only desperately feel the process of his body gradually disappearing and the horrible pain that penetrated his soul. He wanted to scream, but under the effect of the mind gem, he could not move. Even if his muscles were constantly spasming in severe pain, he could not make a sound. Looking at Malekith, whose face was hideous and twisted in front of him, Sumu smiled at him, and then pushed his palm slightly. Under the terrifying repulsive force, the Dark Elf warship was instantly destroyed, and the remaining metal wreckage flew into the void outside Asgard until it broke away from Asgard and fell into the endless cosmic abyss. After dealing with Malekith, Sumu suddenly felt something and looked at Jane Foster with a happy expression. Under the continuous effect of the reversal technique, the ether particles were finally completely separated from Jane Foster. Sumu pulled with his right hand, and the crimson particle fluid was pulled out of Jane Foster's body. When the ether particles were completely separated from Jane Foster fell into a coma. Sumu came into contact with Jane Foster and instantly recovered the damage in her body. Then he applied the reversal technique to the ether particles. The ether particles that lost their host were easily affected by Sumu, and the energy activity became lower and lower, but the energy was also more concentrated. The ether particles were compressed at a very fast speed and gathered in front of Suemu's index finger. In a short moment, all the ether particles completely gathered at one point, and a red bright gem was generated. The reality gem is in hand. In addition to having unlimited energy, the reality gem also has the ability to modify reality. Although the modified reality cannot be retained permanently, it is still powerful. Just at this time, Su-Emu's body has recovered, and he directly absorbs the energy from the reality gem. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. The system prompts refreshed intensively, and the energy points increased rapidly. Su-Mu invested the energy points into the system fusion degree, and the system fusion degree also increased visibly. In just a few minutes, the system fusion degree exceeded 10%, and it continued to increase. Until Su-Emu's body fell into a state of fatigue again, the system fusion degree had increased to system fusion degree 13%. And, when the system fusion degree reached 10%, Su-Mu unlocked a new skill. System fusion degree 10%. You unlocked a new skill, Unknown Wings Black. Unknown Wings Black LV1 1/100th manipulate the phase power in space to form black wings, greatly enhancing the user's strength. The black wings suddenly spread out from behind Su-Mu, and his strength was also growing rapidly. At the same time, Su-Mu felt that since unlocking Accelerator, the computing power of his brain, which was as precise as a computer, had been greatly increased, and even the power of vector manipulation had been greatly improved. In addition, even the abilities that do not belong to Accelerator, the power of Gojo Satoru, who is completely integrated with him, has also been improved to a certain extent. Extending the black wings in front of him, unlike Accelerator, Su-Emu's wings are more controllable at this time. Even if it is only LV1 wings, he can release them at will, and he will not fall into rage like Accelerator. And his black wings are more solid, like real objects, unlike Accelerator, which are like black whirlpools in most cases, with almost no shadow of wings. Sensing his current state, Su-Mu is very satisfied. The LV1 black wings can continue his considerable increase. I wonder what the higher level black wings, or white wings, colorless wings, or the final platinum wings, or even the final abyss state will look like. The black wings behind him suddenly expanded to a length of 10 meters, and then Su-Mu instantly broke through the sound barrier and flew towards the interior of Asgard. Taking Jane Foster back to the original room, Thor and Frigga were surrounding a one-eyed old man. In the energy sight of the 6 eyes, the old man was as hot as the sun. The energy in his body was stronger than that of the Supreme Sorcerer, so that his old body could not withstand this power and was constantly being hurt by this power. Seeing Su-Mu return, Thor immediately rushed forward and hugged Jane Foster, who was casually held in Su-Emu's hand. After checking that Jane Foster was safe and sound and that the ether particles in her body had been stripped away, he realized that it was Su-Mu who did it, so he thanked Su-Mu. Su-Mu, thank you very much. You not only helped me repel the dark elves that invaded Asgard, but also helped me heal Jane. From now on, you will be Asgard's best friend. Faced with Thor's gratitude, Su-Mu smiled and said, "No need to be grateful, this is a deal. Although we have a good relationship, don't expect me to give you a discount." Just when Thor wanted to say something, the god King Odin beside him carefully observed Su-Mu, and then exclaimed, "What an incredible young man. The power in your body is close to mine, and it is still increasing. If I hadn't confirmed that you were a mutant, I would have thought you were the lord of some great dimension." Under Odin's observation, the young man in front of him seemed to be filled with infinite power and infinite possibilities. This situation was something he had never seen before. According to Odin's inference, as long as the young man in front of him did not die, he could at least become a strong man at the level of a single universe. Odin continued, "Soldier, take out those 3 treasures." Under Odin's command, several soldiers came to this room with different artifacts that emitted amazing energy. It was the eternal fire that burned forever, the frost box that emitted a biting cold, and the exquisite infinite gloves. Odin said to Su-Mu with a gentle face, "This is the reward that Thor promised you. Asgardians never owe benefactors. But even if it was a transaction, you still saved Asgard. Just as Thor said, the strong man from Midgard, you will always be the most important friend of Asgard." Quote. Su-Mu didn't hesitate to put the 3 treasures into his pocket space, then looked at the weak yet extremely powerful god King Odin in front of him and smiled brightly. "Of course, After dealing with the affairs of Asgard and saying goodbye to Thor and others, Sumyu returned to the villa on Earth through the portal. But just as he returned, he discovered through his 6 eyes that several figures emitting intense energy were rushing towards him at high speed. This made him curl his lips slightly, and there was new fun. The sea view villa that Sumyu bought is located in the best position on this beach, where you can see the best sunrise. On the other side of the extremely far shore, at the junction of the sky and the sea, a sun has just risen from the sea, dyeing the world with a layer of red. Such a beautiful picture should be enjoyed quietly, but a spaceship that is coming at a high speed breaks this peace. Sumyu took a step forward and walked towards the deep sea. He liked this sea view villa very much, but he didn't want the next battle to destroy the sea view villa. In the sight of Luyan, a strange-looking spaceship was flying towards him at a high speed. This spaceship has a strange appearance. It is not aerodynamic like ordinary spaceships, but an angular structure, and various dense runes are engraved on the hull of the spaceship, as if these runes provide energy for the spaceship. And inside the spaceship, all the Eternals on Earth gathered, wearing eternal armor, and were preparing to avenge the enemy who killed Ikaris. After Ikaris was killed, the Eternals' revenge plan has never stopped. As the most powerful Eternal warrior, Ikaris was killed by the mutants, the descendants of the mutants. This is something that the Eternals cannot tolerate. But after their analysis, it is difficult for them to kill Sumyu, and they may even be wiped out, so they want to cooperate with S.H.I.E.L.D. But when they contacted the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, the druid with the ability of mind control suddenly discovered that the minds of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were controlled by an extremely powerful mind power. This mind power is extremely powerful, and even the druids, who are Eternals, are not opponents at all. Although it is unknown who has this terrifying mind power, it is obviously not suitable to continue to cooperate with S.H.I.E.L.D. Just when they were at a loss for the revenge plan, a human with green skin and an abnormally huge head suddenly came to them, and then kept telling them the crimes of the White Devil in front of them, and said that he could help them. After the druid's mind detection, they confirmed that although there were many false lies in the words of this human, he was indeed hostile to the White Devil and could help them. So they accepted the help of the human nicknamed the Big Boss, which led to the action of hunting the White Devil now. With the weapons provided by the Big Boss against the White Devil and the ultimate means of mutual destruction, they are full of confidence in this operation. In a military base at a certain location, Colonel Stryker and 3 doctors, Mr. Fantastic, stood in front of the projection of the surveillance satellite at the same time, watching the next battle. The Big Boss contacted the Eternals and provided them with equipment to deal with the White Devil. That was the upgraded mutant ability suppression device, space disruption device and matter decomposition lightsaber they had been researching during this period. However, their purpose of providing help to the Eternals was not to want them to kill the White Devil. Unlike the Eternals, they knew more about the White Devil and understood the horror of the White Devil more. According to their calculations, if everyone in the Eternals had the strength of Ikaris, and used the ultimate means with their help, there was still a possibility of killing the White Devil. Now, even if they used the ultimate means to die with the White Devil, they could not kill the White Devil. Their purpose was to collect the damage effect of the upgraded equipment on the White Devil, collect the information of the White Devil now, and then use this information to improve the Red Giant and enhance the strength of the Red Giant. This is their last resort. In their deduction, in order to defeat the White Devil, the Eternals will definitely use the last means they give, burning their own lives to provide them with the most valuable data. And data represents power for these super geniuses. Knowledge is power. For them, it is not a falsehood, but a fact. Sumyu continued to move into the ocean and stopped about 500 kilometers away from the Seaview Villa. At this position, the next battle should not affect the Seaview Villa. He stood on the sea and looked at the strange spaceship following closely behind. It only took a moment for the spaceship to go from extreme movement to extreme stillness, completely ignoring inertia, and stopped. A woman in green armor was first transferred from the spaceship to the sea surface. When she just touched the sea surface, the surrounding sea area changed dramatically in an instant. Starting from the feet of the woman, the seawater was quickly petrified. In just a few breaths, the surrounding seawater was completely petrified, and a brand new island was formed on the sea surface. This eternal woman is named Circe and has the ability to convert matter. Then several Eternals landed from the spaceship and landed on the island created by Circe. They were Tina, who could transform cosmic energy into weapons. Water elf with the ability to create illusions. Speedster Makari. Gilgamesh with terrifying power. Golden fruit that could shoot cosmic energy from his hands. Phastos, who was good at craftsmanship and held a sledgehammer. Druid with telepathic ability. And finally Ajax with healing ability. These are all the eternal warriors sent to the earth by the gods to protect humans and escort the new gods. Any one of these Eternals represents extremely terrifying power. If so many Eternals act together, they can even easily rule the earth. Their fighting power is so strong that even if Thanos is besieged by several Eternals, he will definitely die in a short time. In the past thousands of years, they have fought on their own, slaughtering mutants to protect humans, and have never attacked a target together. But now they are confronting a descendant of a mutant they slaughtered at will, a humble mutant. Compared with them, the humble mutant is even more relaxed, as if it is not the mutant named Sumu who is surrounded, but all of their Eternals. As the leader, Ajax spoke first. Humble mutant, you actually killed the great Eternals, now it's time to pay for your sins. Hearing Ajax's words, Sumu said disdainfully. Aren't the great Eternals just tools of the Celestials, poor people who are constantly brainwashed and thrown into battle? Ajax was shocked just after communicating with Sumu. Like the original Akaris, she couldn't understand why a mere mutant would know secrets that even other Eternals didn't know. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. The druid with telepathic energy immediately understood from the change in Ajax's expression that what Sumu said was true. He looked at Ajax in shock, but was stopped by Ajax. After killing the White Devil, I will tell you everything. Ajax no longer dared to let Sumu say more. She directly activated the device given to them by the Big Boss. The space disruption device started irregularly in the spacecraft, disrupting the surrounding space to prevent Sumu from adapting to the crack. The same is true for the mutant suppression device. Then each of them took out a lightsaber, and the lightsabers with the ability to decompose matter emitted terrifying energy in their hands. They are determined to kill the White Devil. The moment the space disruption device and mutants were activated, Sumu felt something different. The frequencies of the space disruption device and the mutant suppression device are constantly changing, preventing him from adapting to the current situation. Even if the six eyes adapt to the current situation instantly, the changing frequency still makes the energy in his body lose control again the next moment. What's more important is that the frequency of this transformation is completely random and has no rules at all, so that Sumu is constantly adapting and wandering out of control, and the energy in his body cannot truly calm down. Discovering this situation, Sumu couldn't help but look forward to meeting Mr. Fantastic, who had developed these restraining devices for him. If he used the Mind Stone to control Mr. Fantastic, he would surely have more fun. Under Ajax's order, many Eternals attacked Sumu at the same time. The speedster Makari took the lead and rushed towards Sumu with a lightsaber in hand. Even with six eyes moving, her speed was still extremely fast, which was far faster than Quicksilver. But when she approached Sumu, she was instantly knocked away by the terrifying repulsion. Under the constant influence of the black-red singularity comparable to a small supernova, she instantly broke through the sound barrier, crashed through the sea surface and sank into the depths of the sea. Makari, seeing his friend being knocked away in an instant, Gilgamesh, who was all flesh and blood, mobilized all the cosmic energy in his body to strengthen his own strength. The dazzling golden light enveloped his fist and went straight towards Sumu to attack. At the same time, Tina also used cosmic energy to condense an extremely sharp spear, and attacked Sumu with Gilgamesh. Under the constant action of the space disruption device, the unlimited technique could not be maintained stably. This also allowed two Eternals with thousands of years of combat experience to seize the opportunity. The fist and the energy spear came together and were about to hit Sumu's body. But Sumu completely ignored their attacks, ignored the sharp energy spears and indestructible fists, and stretched out an index finger in two directions. Black and red singularities quickly formed on the fingertips. The next moment, the attacks of the two Eternals fell on Sumu, but this attack, which could easily break Thanos' defense, had no effect on him. The huge energy contained in it was instantly absorbed by Sumu. Under the disbelief expressions of the two Eternal warriors, the magic reversal, hit their bodies and knocked them away respectively. Ajax looked at Sumu solemnly, and then asked, Why can you still use the ability to absorb energy? The mutant suppression device has obviously suppressed you. Su Mu smiled brightly at her and responded to her question. Although this suppression device that constantly changes frequency does cause me some trouble, if I control it with all my strength, I can still achieve complete control within a certain period of time. After hearing Su Mu's response, Ajax sent a message to all the Eternals. Try to use the matter-decomposing lightsaber to attack him. Makari, who possessed extreme speed, returned again, but was instantly knocked away by Su Mu. While dealing with Makari's continuous attacks, Su Mu talked with Ajax easily. Don't you want me to continue talking? Or are you afraid that other Eternals will find out that you have deceived them? It's really pitiful that after hundreds of thousands of years of fighting, you only have thousands of years of memory, and the targets of the battle are not real mutants but inferior mutants whose intelligence has been eliminated. Shut up. Ajax immediately stopped him. At this time, all the Eternals heard Su Mu's words. They were naturally not stupid and understood that there was definitely something wrong with Ajax, otherwise they would not have stopped the White Devil from continuing. So they temporarily stopped attacking Su Mu, and then asked Ajax. Ajax, what are you hiding from us? So our real mission is not to protect the Earth, but to protect the birth of the new god. The most troublesome situation still occurred. The words of the White Devil made other Eternals doubt their responsibilities during the battle. If not dealt with as soon as possible, the entire team will fall apart. Ajax immediately said, Everyone, we will talk about these things later. We still need to work together to kill the White Devil. We and the White Devil can no longer coexist. If we can't kill him, he will definitely kill him. Before the other Eternals could express anything, a sudden voice suddenly sounded. That's right, you have to do your best to kill me. This is your only chance. All the Eternals looked in the direction of the source of the sound, and saw the White Devil standing in the low air, showing them a cruel smile with a playful expression, and made a strange front seal, and then said happily. The field unfolds, infinite space. Druid. After discovering that the White Devil had made this prefix seal, they immediately realized something and reminded the Druid loudly. The information passed from the Big Boss clearly recorded all the information about the White Devil. After this pre-formed seal, he will release an extremely powerful psychic ability, blocking the movement ability of all creatures within the scope of the effect, and within the scope of the ability, all his abilities will be exerted a sure hit effect. But they also have strategies to deal with it. All the Eternals immediately separated and surrounded the Druid in the center. As the dense runes spread, the energy of other Eternals flowed along the runes and finally concentrated on the Druid, greatly enhancing his ability. The Druid, who had gathered the power of all the Eternals, was now extremely powerful. I am afraid that even Akari's was not his opponent at this time. The Druid's mind control ability was fully operational and collided with Su Mu's infinite space. Zzz. The sound of electric current in the void continued to sound in the void. Just like the collision of the two domains in the spell battle, the Druid's ability collided with Su Mu's domain, and finally offset the effect of the infinite space. However, just when they breathed a sigh of relief, they suddenly saw the white demon in front of them suddenly disappear from the original place and appear in front of Phastos at the edge. The purple horror sphere formed from the palm of the white demon at some point, and then suddenly pressed towards Phastos' chest. The battle suit comparable to adamantium alloy was easily destroyed by the terrifying illusion sphere, and the virtual style, C, instantly broke through Phastos' defense and pierced him instantly. The terrifying purple energy continued to spread from the wound on his chest, eroding his body. Stop. All the Eternals attacked Su Mu at the same time, but Su Mu took a step and easily avoided the attacks of other Eternals, then returned to the original position with Phastos' head, and smiled brightly at the many Eternals. You seemed very proud just now. No, let her go. Asshole, let Phastos go. Seeing that a companion was suddenly held hostage by the White Devil and was in danger, many Eternals no longer had the arrogance and calmness before, and threatened Su Mu one after another. However, facing the furious Eternals, Su Mu's palm suddenly bloomed with black and red lightning far beyond the previous one. The terrifying repulsive force compressed in his palm, and Phastos' head, which he lifted, immediately shattered in his palm. Amidst the curses and roars of the Eternals, the sound of the system upgrading came to my ears. Spell reversal. Experience +1. Congratulations, your skill spell reversal, he, has been upgraded. The system's skill intensity is improved exponentially. When the skill level is only LV1, the power of the skills is far less than the power of the skills released by the character prototype. But at LV3, the power of skills reaches the level of character prototypes. At level 4, the power of skills will surpass the character prototype and reach a more powerful state. In the previous battle, Su-Mu continued to use the magic technique to reverse, he, and continuously improve his experience in the magic technique to reverse, he. Just now, the magic technique to reverse, he, was finally upgraded. A large amount of memories poured into Su-Mu's mind and were continuously absorbed by Su-Mu. Because this memory was so huge, even Su-Mu, who had LV4 and 6 eyes, could not easily absorb the information of this memory. Just absorbing part of the memory greatly increases the power of the Haku reversal technique. Originally, even if he was hit head-on by the spell reversal, he, with the powerful defense of the Eternals, he would only suffer a slight injury and it would not be fatal at all. Except for the virtual, Su-Mu has few abilities that can easily harm the Eternals. But after the spell reversal, he, was upgraded, all this changed completely. Due to the rapid increase in the power of the, he, reversal technique, Su-Mu could not control the leakage of part of her power. Boom! A large amount of black and red lightning surrounded him and spread continuously, which was the most condensed repulsive force. Under his feet, a terrifying repulsive force suddenly broke out, and the island transformed by Circe instantly collapsed and sank into the sea. Under the powerful repulsive force, with Su-Mu as the center, a large area of seawater was excluded, forming a sphere with a radius of 100 meters under him. And every time a black-red lightning strikes the seawater, dozens of cubic meters of seawater will be annihilated in an instant. During this period, Makari tried to get close to Su-Mu and killed him with a matter-decomposing lightsaber. However, before she could get close, she was repelled by dense black and red lightning, and the area of her body that was hit continued to ooze blood. Jin Guo, who is proficient in energy manipulation, immediately exclaimed, "We must defeat him as soon as possible. For some reason, his strength is constantly improving." Ajak immediately thought of the highlighted content in the information about the White Devil. There is almost no upper limit to the growth of the White Devil's strength. He is getting stronger all the time, and the speed is still growing. Descendants of mutant races, can mutants really do this? Ajak looked at everything in front of him in disbelief, looking at the white demon wrapped in black and red lightning, and looking at the energy fluctuations that were far more powerful than Akari's, the most powerful warrior among them. What's even more frightening is that this energy fluctuation is still increasing. She immediately ordered all the Eternals, attack, before he adapts to this power. The speedster Makari immediately rushed over. In her first charge, she was repelled by the terrifying black and red lightning. In this attack, she used all the power in her body, and her speed increased several times. After going through countless hardships, she finally escaped the attacks of countless black and red lightning, reversed the repulsion and came to the White Devil. When she was about to pierce the White Devil's body with the lightsaber in her hand, she suddenly found that the White Devil's sight was once again locked her. Then, a far more powerful repulsive force than before was released from the White Demon's body. As if deliberately venting, this terrifying power is released in a 360-degree manner, destroying everything around it. Makari's body, which was the closest, immediately shattered, and even the armor covered with a body surface that was comparable to or even harder than adamantium alloy was obviously damaged. She suddenly flew backwards at a speed of dozens of times the speed of sound, hitting the water elf on the path. The terrifying impact directly shattered the palm of the water elf, who was not good at frontal combat. After knocking Macaulay away, Su-Mu finally adapted to the LV4 spell reversal, he. As the attack method he currently masters, second only to the virtual style, Xing, the lowest power of the reversed spell, he, is twice that of the reversed spell, Kang. And the level 4 spell can create a black hole by reversing, Kang. So what will happen if the spell, H, is at least twice as powerful as the reverse spell, Kang? The lightning around him was still bursting out, but Su-Mu did not deliberately restrain himself to avoid wasting energy. He wanted to be wild and see the limit of his current strength. 3 infinity stones flew out of the pocket space one after another. The yellow, blue, and red infinity stones continued to rotate around Su Mu. They emitted huge energy and were continuously absorbed by Su Mu. Looking at the many eternal warriors in front of him, Su Mu smiled ferociously and stretched his right arm upwards. Under his deliberate control, the black and red lightning released randomly finally began to gather in an orderly manner and quickly formed in the sky above his palm. As the black and red lightning condensed, a black and red singularity was rapidly generated and expanded, and the color became lighter and lighter until it became a light red and white. Because of the power of the spell, the initial spell reversed to Kang appeared blue, and the initial spell reversed, He appeared black-red. But as their power continues to expand, the power of the spell, Kang, is completely comparable to that of a black hole, gradually turning black. And the power of the magic reversal, H, is completely comparable to that of a supernova, and it gradually turns white. Just like a real supernova being lifted by Su Mu, even though it was just formed and not deliberately controlled, the huge repulsive force also emptied the surrounding thousands of meters of seawater, exposing the seabed below the seawater. Because of the huge repulsive force, the huge wave formed affected all the surrounding countries, and even Ji Yuyi was attracted by such a terrifying energy fluctuation and appeared, and had to personally take action to solve the huge wave that could kill millions of people. Ancient One stood in the void and smiled helplessly in the direction of Su Mu. I knew it would be like this. In the distant Asgard, Odin, who was talking to Frigga, suddenly turned around and looked at Midgard's position. He showed an extremely complicated expression, and then said to himself, "What a terrifying young man." Stryker and others who had been monitoring the battle saw the energy index on the energy detection instrument, their eyes were dull, and they couldn't believe it at all. This is impossible, this is impossible. In front of Su Mu and others, facing the supernova-like reversal of the technique, Ajak panicked and said to many companions, "Quick, inject the red giant potion." Each Eternal took out a tube of potion-emitting crystal red light, and then injected it into the body using an adamantium pinhole. Their skin turned red visibly, and the cosmic energy and gamma rays in the body reacted wonderfully, constantly strengthening their physique, making their already amazing physical fitness doubled. But despite this, they are still like ants in the face of supernovas. The next moment, the supernova shattered the space and came towards them at a high speed. It's like the sky is falling. With the rapid fall of the spell reversal, the surrounding thousands of meters of seawater were completely emptied, causing a violent tsunami. If it weren't for the Supreme Mage constantly sorting out the dissipated energy, many surrounding cities and even small countries would be destroyed by the aftermath of Su Mu's attack. Facing such a terrifying red and white supernova, even if the Eternals and others who were constantly getting stronger and stronger after injecting the red giant potion could not hold on. They were crushed to the bottom of the sea by the terrifying repulsion. The seabed that was originally full of silt was constantly compressed by the endless repulsion, and immediately sank hundreds of meters, and then turned into an extremely hard material. All the Eternals were crushed by the powerful repulsion on this temporarily compressed material and could not move. Even if they were injected with the red giant potion, so that their physical fitness increased at a terrifying speed, they still could not break free from the shackles of repulsion. Every time they struggled, the ground would sink again, and cracks of hundreds of meters would appear, but under the terrifying repulsion, these cracks would immediately recover quickly and form a harder structure. This process is repeated continuously. Now the material structure of the seabed is no longer the original material on the Earth, but a harder unknown material that suddenly formed, until all the Eternals could not destroy it. No, seeing the supernova about to fall, even with Ajax's psychological quality, he could not stay calm. The terrifying pressure caused the bodies of all the Eternals to collapse continuously, and even the weakest water elves were dying under such a terrifying repulsion, as if they would die in the next moment. Even if they took a huge risk to inject the red giant potion, they still could not stop their fate of death. She gritted her teeth and finally made a decision. She said to all the Eternals in grief and anger, "Companions, give all your strength to Circe, otherwise we will all be killed by the White Devil. Now we can only put our hope on Circe, let her kill the White Devil and avenge us." At this time, Ajax's skin was red, his face was hideous, and his muscles kept wriggling, but he could not break free from the terrifying repulsion and kept bleeding. Now she can't be seen as the leader of the powerful Eternals at all, just like a disgusting red bug that keeps wriggling. After hearing Ajax's words, all the Eternals immediately realized what was happening. It was impossible for them to survive under the terrifying repulsion. The only way was to give all their strength to Circe, let her live, and help them revenge. This is the best choice at present. Dazzling lines spread from all the Eternal warriors to Circe, and huge energy poured into her body. After realizing what happened, Circe said in despair, "No, don't do this, we can all survive." She had already lost Ikaris and didn't want to lose other partners anymore. But she couldn't stop anything. With the continuous transmission of energy, other Eternals could no longer hold on. The first was the weakest water elf. Her body collapsed in an instant and was stained with a layer of red in the terrifying seabed. Following closely behind, Phastos and the druid were also crushed into an irregular mass of meat. At this time, the falling supernova finally approached them completely, and many Eternals in the battle group died one after another. Jingguo, Tina, Gilgamesh. The arrogant Eternals were slaughtered at will without any resistance. Finally, the supernova fell. In an instant, the terrifying repulsive force erupted from the landing center, and then continued to spreading to the surrounding tens of kilometers, dyeing a touch of white visible to the naked eye on the blue scroll. All the surrounding seawater was annihilated by the terrifying repulsive force, and the water molecules could not even maintain stability to form more basic hydrogen and oxygen atoms. There was obvious vibration on the ground in the surrounding hundreds of kilometers. This was a man-made natural disaster. The vibration was most obvious in coastal cities. The earth kept shaking, and a large number of cracks appeared out of thin air. Everyone looked at the dazzling light released from the depths of the ocean and was at a loss. They were just ants, unable to decide their own destiny at all. They could only pray to God and ask for shelter. Seeing that the magnitude of the earthquake continued to expand with the explosion of the supernova, the Supreme Mage looked at the depths of the ocean with a complicated expression, and his eyes seemed to pass through the endless space and fell on the white demon standing in the void. "How long has it been?" she murmured. After that, the Supreme Mage formed a mysterious handprint, and the phenomenon of glass shattering rapidly expanded beside her, and after a moment, it enveloped the surrounding area of hundreds of kilometers. When the shattering phenomenon was transmitted to Su Mu, he instantly felt the changes in the surrounding space. Mirror space. Su Mu was not surprised that the Supreme Mage used the mirror space. Now his strength has completely reached the level of the Father of Heaven. If he uses all his strength, he can even destroy the earth. Even if it is just the aftermath of the battle, it is enough to kill countless ordinary people. The kind Supreme Mage will never allow this to happen, so he uses the mirror space to isolate Su Mu and others from fighting. Ignoring Sissy, whose breath in the center of the spell reversal, he keeps jumping back and forth between weakness and strength, Su Mu uses his 6 eyes to analyze the mirror space with all his strength. It seems that his magic talent is not good. He once tried to study the magic skill of mirror space by himself, but he had no clue. Now that the Supreme Mage has performed it in front of him personally, it undoubtedly gives him an excellent opportunity. Various energy flows in the mirror space appeared in front of Su Mu. With the continuous analysis of the 6 eyes, Su Mu understood the mirror space better and better. Finally, after a few minutes, Su Mu heard a system prompt. "You have gained a new skill, Mirror Space. Mirror Space LV1 1/100th create a temporary space latitude, isolated from reality, and anything that happens within it will not affect reality." Finally mastering the magical skill of Mirror Space, Su Mu had a bright smile on his face. At this moment, the aftermath of the reversal of the spell, finally ended. Under the pressure of the supernova, the Eternals were almost completely wiped out, leaving only a figure with blood all over its body flying out of the water pouring in. It was extremely disgusting. Looking at Su Mu. "Mutants, white devils, you lowly mutant cowardly earthling. You not only killed Ikaris, but also the water elf, Ajax, Tina. I must kill you, I will annihilate your soul." Quote, in the extreme hatred, the originally elegant eternal warrior Circe completely lost her mind. She kept roaring desperately in the air. At this time, she not only absorbed the power of all other Eternals, but also mutated into a red giant under the influence of the red giant potion. Her whole body was red, and the golden cosmic energy spread around her like lightning. She was very similar to the original Su Mu, but unlike Su Mu, she seemed unable to bear this power. The flesh and blood in her body continued to collapse and then reorganize. Only in this way can we maintain balance. However, in this deformed state, the power she gained was also extremely terrifying. At this time, it was a power that could resist supernovas to a certain extent. She can definitely defeat the White Devil and help her friends get revenge. So she rushed over, and her speed instantly exceeded hundreds of times the speed of sound. Facing Cersei, who exuded extremely terrifying energy, Sumu instantly disappeared from the place and came to Cersei. White and black were constantly rotating and merging in the palm of his hand. Different from the purple in the past, a lavender illusion sphere emitting black and white colors quickly formed from the palm of his hand, and suddenly slapped Cersei's head. Facing the sudden appearance of Sumu, Cersei tried her best to avoid it, but was still hit by Sumu. Then the head, now harder than adamantium alloy, instantly shattered. Her despair, her hatred, and her unwillingness were as fleeting as a joke. At the same time, after continuously absorbing energy, a new reminder came to Suemu's ears. Energy absorption experience +1. Congratulations, your skill energy absorption has been upgraded. The next moment, Suemu's whole body underwent earth-shaking transformation again. This was his first level 5 skill. Energy absorption LV5 1/20,000th can absorb almost all forms of energy within a range of 20 meters, with extremely high absorption speed and energy storage limit, and can even manipulate almost all forms of energy within a range of 10 meters. The energy from the dark constantly strengthens Suemu's body. Under the reinforcement of endless energy, all the cells in his body undergo transformation and can accommodate more and stronger energy. In this process, Suemu's physical fitness continues to improve, as if there is no end. At first, Suemu's physical fitness benefited from the continuous strengthening of Gojo Satoru's panel and energy absorption. Without the use of spell power manipulation and energy strengthening, it did achieve a significant improvement, but it was still not enough compared to the strong men like the Hulk Eternal clan. But now, after the energy absorption has been upgraded to LV5, even if no means are used to improve physical fitness, his physical fitness can already be comparable to the normal Hulk, or even stronger. And the rapid improvement of the body is only a small part of the improvement. A large amount of information gathered in Suemu's mind. Such a large amount of information constantly impacted his will and could even cause some damage to his spirit. Compared with LV4 energy absorption, the information content of LV5 energy absorption is more than several times higher. This is a qualitative improvement. Even the Six Eyes could not absorb this part of the memory quickly, and could only protect Sumu from the harm of this huge amount of information. I don't know how long it took for Sumu to completely digest the memory information brought by energy absorption LV5. Mind slightly turned. Buzz. With him as the center, everything within a radius of 20 meters stopped moving. The energy between molecules was absorbed by Sumu, and the movement of molecules immediately slowed down, and finally even approached stagnation. Therefore, the surrounding temperature dropped rapidly, and finally approached absolute zero. This is absolute control at the molecular level. Moreover, because Sumu can manipulate energy at the molecular level, he can directly absorb bioenergy or magic that could not be absorbed in the past. Now, except for extremely special high-dimensional energy such as the power of the Phoenix, or the ability to directly act on the decomposition of matter at the atomic level, no energy can cause harm to Sumu. In addition, he has also undergone transformation in other places. 3 infinite gems kept rotating around him, and the endless energy released by them was quickly absorbed by Sumu. In the past, the infinite gems that could not be absorbed could now be absorbed for a long time while controlling the absorption speed. With the support of a large amount of energy, the template fusion degree increased rapidly. Template fusion degree, 14%. Template fusion degree, 15%. Template fusion degree, 16%. As time passed, the template fusion degree finally broke through and reached 20%. After the template fusion degree reached 20%, Sumu unlocked a new skill. Template fusion degree, 20%. You unlocked a new skill, Unknown Wings White. Unknown Wings White LV1 1/100th manipulate the phase power in space to form perfect white wings, greatly enhancing the user's strength. A large amount of information continued to pour out of his mind again, but Sumu could easily bear this information. After a moment, Su-mu completely absorbed this information, and then the white holy wings opened behind him, and a glowing ring like an angel appeared above his head. Feel the increase given by the unknown wings white, which is probably several times that of the unknown wings black. But for him now, that's all. The LV1 unknown wings have limited enhancement for him. I'm afraid that at least it needs to reach LV3 and reach the strength of accelerator to have a significant increase for him. However, Su-mu is very much looking forward to the future of the unknown wings. I wonder what level the unknown wings that surpass accelerator can reach. Just as Su-mu was constantly adapting to the surging energy in his body through the 6 eyes, a portal suddenly formed rapidly in front of him, and then a bald woman walked out of the portal. The person who came was the Supreme Mage. Now energy absorption can ignore most magic, and according to the current skills, Su-mu has completely entered the realm of the Father level. At this time, even if he is not the opponent of the Supreme Mage, he can definitely escape calmly. The strong confidence from his own strength makes Su-mu no longer feel uncomfortable when facing the Supreme Mage. Now they are equal. In Absolute Zero, the Supreme Sorcerer was still not injured. There was a faint energy shield on her body to protect her from Su-mu's power. Her eyes looking at Su-mu were intertwined with complexity, shock and confusion. Even though she had the time stone and could peek into multiple timelines, she didn't know what happened to Su-mu. His strength had just been fully improved, but after the battle, his strength was improved again, and the improvement was even greater than the first time. Facing Su-mu, who had been continuously improved, even she had to treat him with caution. However, hundreds of years of cultivation still made her hold back from asking Su-mu questions, but slowly told Su-mu her purpose. Su-mu, you killed all the Eternals, which will definitely attract the attention of the Celestials. Even if your strength has been greatly improved, even to the level of a father in the sky, I still suggest that you leave this planet as soon as possible, or even leave this universe and go to other dimensions. Because even a father in the sky strongman is still no match in front of the God group. The strength of each god in the God group is at least a powerful existence at the level of a single universe. After catching you, the God group will judge you. If you are judged to die, then you will be killed by them without any resistance. Quote. Ji Yuyi said to Su-mu with a serious face that what she said was indeed true, but she was more worried about Su-mu's encounter with the God group. After all, there were too many uncertainties in Su-mu, and his strength increased so quickly that Ji Yuyi even thought that Su-mu was the incarnation of a multiverse-level latitude lord. Even if it wasn't, there would be too many uncertainties in Su-mu's encounter with the God group, because Su-mu's timeline was extremely special, and Ji Yuyi couldn't observe his future, but Ji Yuyi was sure that when the two interacted, something shocking to the multiverse would happen. Either the God group subdued Su-mu and killed him, or Su-mu killed all the God group, and then slaughtered all the people in the multiverse in the near future. There are Celestials. For some reason, Ancient One instinctively thinks that the second possibility is higher. Even if this future is no longer possible, the sixth sense developed by traveling through timelines many times tells Ancient One that the future will definitely develop in this direction. Although the Celestials have drawbacks, they are an important factor in maintaining the stability of the universe, so they are indispensable. It is also because they have predicted the future in which the Celestials in the multiverse are slaughtered, so now in addition to sorting out the aftermath of the battle and avoiding the death of too many mortals, Ancient One has only one most important goal. That is to send this scourge to other parallel universes as soon as possible. Just harm other parallel universes, let this universe go. Hearing what Ji Yuyi said, Su-mu frowned slightly and thought about where to go next. Ji Yuyi's words made sense. Now that he had killed the Eternals who were given a mission by the Celestials, he would definitely be targeted by this group of powerful Celestials. Although he now has the strength of a father, he is still no match for the Celestials. It is unknown when the Celestials will arrive. If he continues to stay in this universe, according to the speed at which his strength increases, he will definitely be able to compete with the Celestials in the future, or even defeat them. But this is uncertain. Maybe the Celestials will arrive sooner, and his strength is not enough to compete with the Celestials, so he can only let them judge him at will. This uncertainty is unbearable for Su-mu. So he asked Ancient One, when will the Celestials come to Earth? How long do I have? The time gem on Ancient One's chest flickered green light, and then she responded. You are safe within a month, but they will come to Earth at any time afterwards. I suggest you leave before then and go to other universes. 1 month. Su-mu calculated that 1 month was enough for him to upgrade the portal to level 4, or even more than enough. If the portal is upgraded to level 4, then he will have the ability to shuttle through latitudes, so that even if he faces the Celestials, he will have more than enough to retreat. Suddenly, Su-mu thought of something. In the comics, there is an intersection universe between the DC multiverse and the Marvel multiverse, connecting the two multiverses. If there really is such a multiverse, then can he go to the DC multiverse through that special universe? And in the DC multiverse, there are also creations that contain a lot of energy, such as artifacts such as the Mother Box. If Su-mu gets these artifacts, he will not lack energy. And Su-mu has a hunch that if he encounters a powerful character template that exceeds the limit of a single universe and reaches the multiverse level, then the energy contained in the infinite gems will have a greatly reduced effect on him, and he needs to find a higher level energy. Therefore, dimensional travel, or even world travel across the multiverse, is very important. A lot of thoughts flow in his mind, and he sets a brief plan for the future for Su-mu, but these are things that will happen in the future. For him at present, the most important thing is to upgrade the portal level. When the portal is upgraded to LV4, he will be fearless in the face of the God group, and he can easily leave even if he fails, and he may also be directly teleported to Stryker's side, crushing this disgusting bug that has been hiding in the dark. The most important thing is that he doesn't want to leave like this. Even if he is not the opponent of the God group, he will give the God group a big gift before leaving. And the portal that can travel across dimensions is his strongest backing. After thanking Ji Yuyi and saying goodbye to her, Su-mu returned to his beach villa. Although it was 500 kilometers away from the area where he fought with the Eternals, the beach villa was still affected. Part of the seawater poured into the villa, and the entire beach villa was extremely humid. However, with the cleaning of many Hollywood actresses, the villa was quickly restored to order. So Su-mu practiced the portal in the villa. Portals with dazzling sparks continued to form around Su-mu, and then extinguished in an instant, and the system's prompts kept ringing in his ears. Portal experience +1. Portal experience +1. Portal experience +1. Because it was only controlled by thoughts, Su-mu could do other things while practicing the portal. This was too simple for him who could do many things at the same time. Open the portal, and a stable portal formed in front of Su-mu, and Tony Stark's busy scene came from it. With Tony Stark's wisdom, he quickly completed the repair of the Ark, and then returned to his beach villa with the gift given by Su-mu, trying to find the technical key of the nano armor through the symbiote. At this time, on the shelf behind Tony Stark, there was a fluid armor that was constantly flowing. It was quite similar to the symbiote, but different. It seemed that his research had made great progress. Tony. Startled by the sudden voice behind him, Tony Stark immediately turned around, and the instrument in his hand fell down. When he saw the portal and Su-mu's figure behind him, he breathed a sigh of relief, and then said with resentment, "Su-mu, you almost scared me to death." Su-mu shrugged, and then apologized insincerely. "Sorry, pay attention next time, I have some good things here, I think you might like it." Tony Stark was immediately distracted by Su-mu. The things Su-mu took out were always extremely rare and would give him a lot of help. Compared with the good things, the previous shock was not worth mentioning. "What? Let me see." Take out all the bodies of the Eternals from the pocket space and hand them to Tony. These are the bodies of the Eternals created by the Celestials. Their body materials are extremely special, similar to life but with mechanical characteristics. The materials that make up the bodies of the Eternals can easily transfer energy and are extremely strong. I think these bodies will be of great help to you. I think you can use these bodies to research extremely powerful armor, what do you think? Cool. Tony was immediately delighted when he saw the bodies of the Eternals in front of him. With these bodies, his mecha limit would be higher. Suddenly, he was stunned. Looking at the many bodies in front of him, he realized what happened. You killed all the Eternals on Earth. Tony looked at Su-mu in disbelief and asked his own questions. The Eternals were created by the Celestials. Each Eternal is an extremely powerful warrior. They have unlimited energy in their bodies and can survive in a vacuum. Even the weakest Eternals can easily destroy a small country. But such a powerful Eternal was easily killed by Su-mu. He knew that Sumu was very strong, but this was too strong. After handing the bodies of the Eternals to Tony and exchanging them for an unlimited supply of steel armor, Sumu said goodbye to Tony and continued training. Time passed quickly. Unconsciously, the sky became bright and dark several times. Sumu, who was sunbathing, suddenly heard different prompts from the system. Portal experience +1. Congratulations, your skill portal has been upgraded. A large amount of information came out of his mind, and Suemu's understanding of space and energy deepened rapidly. A moment later, when all the knowledge was absorbed by Sumu, he had mastered the LV4 portal. Portal LV4 1/5000th consume magic power to open a portal to any latitude, any area in the universe. Magic power can be replaced by energy. After learning the information about the LV4 portal, Sumu grinned, "Striker, wait for me." After the portal reaches level 4, it can cross latitudes and go to parallel universes. Sumu now has a feeling that he can feel the existence of other universes, and as long as he opens the portal, he can go to other parallel universes. In addition to being able to cross latitudes and travel in latitudes, the level 4 portal also unlocks other abilities. Now Sumu can teleport in his own latitude even without coordinates. Now he can go to Striker's vicinity at any time and kill him. And the maximum size of the portal he can open has also been greatly expanded, and can even accommodate a mountain. More importantly, now he only needs to consume a lot of energy to create a portal that can be maintained for a long time. Unlike ordinary portals that require him to continuously supply energy to maintain, this portal consumes the energy he stored in the portal. As long as the energy is not exhausted or destroyed by external forces, the portal can be maintained forever. After consuming all the knowledge, Sumu opened the portal and checked the system panel. Name: Sumu. Template: Gojo Satoru Complete Fusion Accelerator. Energy absorption LV5 1/20,000th can absorb almost all forms of energy within a range of 20 meters, with extremely high absorption speed and energy storage limit, and can even manipulate almost all forms of energy within a range of 10 meters. 6 Eyes LV4 1/5000th has a 360-degree long-distance perspective, can see the flow of energy, amazing dynamic vision, perspective ability, allowing the holder to perform extremely fine energy operations. Forward technique. Kang, LV4 1/5000th creates a strong suction force, turns the distance between multiple objects into negative infinity, and creates a small black hole. Reversal technique LV4 1/5000th turns the negative energy of the cursed power into positive energy, has a strong healing effect, and reverses things to their original state. It can be used on others and non-living things. Reversal technique. Hertz, LV4 1/5000th generates a repulsive force centered on Hertz. The minimum power is twice that of Kang, and the maximum output is positive infinity, which is similar to a small supernova. Unlimited technique LV4 3/5000ths interferes with atomic level matter and dominates space. The closer the object is to the user, the slower it will be, and it will never touch the user. It has partial control over space. Hypomorphic style. C. LV2 1/300th overlap the Kang and He styles to form imaginary mass, release energy waves that can cut through space, and manipulate imaginary mass to a certain extent. Infinite space LV1 1/100th pull the opponent into the inner side of the limitless, forcing the opponent's brain to repeat perception and conduction countless times in order to live, generating a large amount of invalid information, causing the brain to lose function and can only stand and wait to die. Only those who are touched by the host are not affected. Vector operation LV1 1/100th control the direction of most vectors, and then create imaginary vector axes, including force, speed, acceleration, displacement, impulse, momentum, electric field strength, magnetic induction strength, etc. Unknown wings black LV1 1/100th manipulate the phase power in space to form black wings, greatly enhancing the user's strength. Unknown wings white LV1 1/100th manipulate the phase power in space to form perfect white wings, greatly enhancing the user's strength. Portal LV4 1/5000th consume magic power to open a portal to any latitude, any area in the universe. Magic power can be replaced by energy. Mirror space LV1 1/100th create a temporary space latitude, isolated from reality. Anything that happens inside will not affect reality. Template fusion degree, 20%. Energy points, 888,888. Put all energy points into accelerator template, and the template fusion degree will be improved to 28%. According to Su Emu's guess, when the template fusion degree reaches 40%, new skills will be obtained. Looking at the gorgeous skills, Su Emu felt a strong sense of satisfaction. These abilities were all obtained by his hard work and efforts. Focus on energy absorption LV5. After energy absorption reaches LV5, it has reached a new realm. At the same time, Su Emu also obtained some information about LV6. When energy absorption reaches LV6, he will be able to achieve mass energy conversion, converting matter into energy or energy into matter. This is almost equivalent to weakening the creation of things out of thin air, which is equivalent to the authority of the creator. By then, he will no longer lack energy and can travel in the plane at will without fear of losing his ability due to the restrictions of the world rules. However, it takes a long time to upgrade energy absorption to LV6, not only because the experience required for upgrading has increased several times, but also because the difficulty of experience improvement has increased several times. But with the system, Su Emu can definitely increase energy absorption to LV6 or even higher. After fully adapting, Su Emu grinned and wanted to talk to his dear Colonel Stryker. As his mind moved slightly, the cause and effect connection between Su Emu and Colonel Stryker in the dark, a portal was generated in front of Su Emu. Su Emu took a step and walked in. Walking out of the portal, he found that there was a swamp around him, and the dense bushes covered all traces. Even professional soldiers could hardly detect any abnormality. But any disguise was useless in front of the six eyes. Su Emu directly saw the huge military base hidden under the swamp, and a middle-aged sinister man deep in the base, who was Colonel Stryker. Sensing the constantly vibrating space around him and the continuously activated mutant suppression device, these made it impossible for Su Emu to enter the military base directly, but it didn't matter. All the struggles only slowed down Stryker's death time. Extending the index finger, a red and white singularity formed at the tip of the index finger, and the terrifying repulsive force was naturally released in the singularity, destroying everything around. The bushes and swamps were immediately destroyed, revealing the outer wall of the military base below. Even if the red and white singularity has not been released, the hard metal wall has begun to collapse. The technique is reversed. As soon as Su Emu appeared, a piercing alarm sounded in the military base, informing everyone in the military base that the devil had arrived. In the command room deep in the military base, Colonel Stryker heard the piercing alarm and asked Mr. Fantastic beside him. "Drive Reed, what happened?" Hearing the alarm, Mr. Fantastic's face changed drastically, and he quickly called up the pictures taken by the external cameras. In the pictures taken by the cameras, the scene was no longer the original one. Everything was destroyed. The hidden military base was outside, and the camouflage that had been painstakingly arranged before was of no use at all. In the sky, the white devil stood in the air, and a red and white singularity quickly formed at the front of the index finger, emitting terrifying energy and irresistible repulsion. Chapter 71. White Devil. Mr. Fantastic immediately recognized the identity of the man standing in the void. It was the White Devil that had troubled him recently. In the past, Mr. Fantastic had always been a conceited person. He was extremely intelligent and had never encountered a problem that could not be solved by wisdom. Especially after experiencing cosmic radiation, changing the cell state of his body and enhancing his wisdom, although he was gentle on the surface, he became more conceited. He is the smartest existence in the world. From the past to the present, he has always believed in this idea until he encountered the White Devil. Initially, S.H.I.E.L.D. looked for him to help make weapons against the White Devil. He analyzed the White Devil's abilities and quickly made the corresponding weapons. Mr. Fantastic believed that the space disruption device was enough to easily disrupt the space around the White Devil and interfere with the almost invincible defense. But after the battle between Ikaris and the White Devil, his space disruption device was ignored by the White Devil and could no longer cause any harm to him. After that, he made a matter decomposition lightsaber, thinking that this invention could easily defeat the White Demon if it was added to the Speedster, but he didn't expect that the White Demon's nerve reflexes could keep up with the Speedster's speed and easily kill the Speedster. It was also at this time that he knew that the speed at which the White Demon's strength increased was also increasing like his strength, as if there was no limit. So in order to deal with the white demon's increasing strength, they made the red giant potion. The Eternals amplified by the red giant potion should be able to kill the white demon with the help of the mutant suppression device and the space disruption device, but he failed again. The speed at which the white demon grew was too fast, beyond his imagination. This was the first time he felt so ignorant. Colonel Stryker on the side saw Mr. Fantastic standing there in a daze, and asked him nervously. "Drive Reed, what should we do now? Should we run away?" "No." Mr. Fantastic shook his head, then turned back to look at the three people behind him and said seriously, "The first thing we have to do is to release the red giant, let him buy us time, and then use my parallel world jump device to go to other parallel worlds, otherwise we will be caught up and killed by the white devil soon." Ivan Vanko on the side hesitated. "But whether it is the red giant or the parallel world jump device we made, they have not been tested, and there is a great possibility that some failures will occur, and any failure of any device will be fatal to us." "No," the big boss on the side retorted. After the infection of the Hulk's blood and mutation, his IQ increased hundreds of times, and the computing power of his brain is even equivalent to that of a supercomputer. Based on the strength shown by the white demon before and the defense capability of the base, he made a precise calculation and concluded that they could not escape from the white demon without being blocked, so they had to gamble that the red giant and the parallel world jump device had no objects, so that they could escape. So the big boss and Mr. Fantastic sorted out the information on the table together. "I agree with Dr. Reed's plan. We can only escape by using the parallel world jump device if the red giant blocks the white demon. And based on the combat power shown by the red giant now, he may even seriously injure the white demon. In this way, it is not impossible to kill the white demon with other means." Seeing that the big boss and Mr. Fantastic were so sure, Colonel Stryker hesitated slightly, and then made up his mind and pressed a button on the console. Deep in the base, a terrible figure revived from his slumber, and the hot cosmic energy and gamma rays immediately melted the steel that imprisoned him. After releasing the red giant, Mr. Fantastic and others immediately went to the deepest part of the base through the emergency transmission channel. A strange spiral door was standing in the deepest part of the base, connecting to a parallel world. They want to use the parallel world jump device to escape the pursuit of the white devil. As long as they successfully enter the parallel world, they will be safe. No matter how powerful the white devil is, it will never be able to go to the parallel world to hunt them. Outside the military base, an unparalleled repulsive force spreads from the red and white singularity, destroying everything around it. With Su-Emu's slight finger flick, the supernova fell downward at a high speed, destroying everything on the path along the way. The hard metal walls of the military base could not stop the red and white singularity at all, and were instantly destroyed and turned into nothingness. Even the few adamantium alloys contained in it were twisted and deformed by the huge repulsive force. The LV4 technique reversal. He already has some of the power of the virtual style, Z. This is enough to destroy space. Boom. The violent vibration spread outward from the landing point of the red and white singularity, destroying everything along the way. The bushes and swamps within a radius of more than 10 kilometers completely disappeared, becoming a dilapidated ruin. In the center area, a huge hole with a diameter of hundreds of meters stood on the ground like a scar, extremely annoying. If an uninformed person came here later, he might think that this pit was a trace left by a huge meteorite, but it was just a casual attack by the white devil. In the pit, the original military base had disappeared, and the soldiers stationed in the military base were annihilated by the terrifying repulsive force before they could resist, and not even a trace of flesh and blood was left. Mortals are so weak in the face of gods. To them, Su-Mu is no different from a god now. The center of the pit is not empty. A room remains in the center of the pit. A protective shield that emits space fluctuations resists Su-Emu's attack, allowing the room to be preserved. But even though this protective shield cost all the efforts of Mr. Fantastic, the Big Boss, and Ivan Vanko, and even though the protective shield was not hit directly by the red and white singularity, it was still extremely damaged, and then it disappeared immediately the next moment. In the room, Mr. Fantastic looked at the dozens of arc reactors that were extinguished at the same time in shock, and said in disbelief, "What kind of power is this? It is completely comparable to a small supernova explosion. We have to move quickly, even the red giant can't resist him for too long." In addition to the room carefully arranged by Mr. Fantastic and others, there is another creature that survived, that is a red giant. After being hit directly by the red and white singularity, his skin all over his body has been shattered, and half of his body disappeared in the terrifying repulsion, but he is still alive, and his skin all over his body is recovering visibly. This red figure is 5 meters tall, and its body is covered with dazzling arc reactors, which continuously provide him with energy. In Su-Emu's perception, these arc reactors have been completely integrated with him, assimilated with his self-healing factor, and can also regenerate. It is the ultimate weapon created by the 3 super geniuses of Mr. Fantastic with all their efforts. The ultimate red giant. Facing such a powerful opponent, Su-Emu's smile became more and more rebellious. Interesting. After being released, the red giant was overwhelmed by endless anger. The endless torture during the transformation process made the red giant completely become a killing monster. He would tear apart everything in front of him. Of course, because of the setting of the chip implanted in his mind, his primary target of attack was naturally the white demon floating in the air. The arc reactor in the red giant's body vibrated wildly, emitting infinite energy. Dozens of arc reactors released massive amounts of energy together, which merged with cosmic rays and gamma rays to provide the red giant with a strong physical fitness. The red giant's leg muscles were tense, and he suddenly exerted force and rushed towards Su-Mu. In the process of attacking Su-Mu, his body changed dramatically, and infinite flames emanated from his body. Then, after the amplification of the huge energy in his body, he became a flame god of war. This is the mutant ability of Sunspot, but after being strengthened by the arc reactor, cosmic energy and gamma rays, the energy index has increased by more than dozens of times. Facing the red giant in front of him, Su-Mu also wanted to try what his current strength could reach after the energy absorption reached LV5. The next moment, the two collided violently in the air. Boom boom boom. The piercing thunder burst in the air, and the black-red lightning and the red lightning kept intersecting, destroying the surrounding area of several kilometers. The aftermath of the collision between the two burst outward, causing the original ruins to sink several meters again, and disturbing the surrounding airflow, forming a hurricane, affecting the surrounding environment for hundreds of kilometers. In the town closest to them, you can clearly see the black-red and red thunder bursts in the sky, as if two gods were fighting in the mortal world. In the center of the collision between the two, a red figure was blown out of the energy turbulence and suddenly fell to the ground, forming a pit of tens of meters. Just one face, the red giant was blown away, and the arm that confronted Su-Mu head-on was completely shattered, spilling a lot of golden blood with intense radiation. However, under the powerful self-healing ability that is not inferior to Wolverine, the red giant's broken body quickly recovered, and then attacked Su-Mu again. Just a face-to-face, Su-Mu analyzed what kind of ability the red giant in front of him had through his 6 eyes. First of all, the ability of the red giant. He has the power beyond the normal Hulk, and can absorb various energies to continuously strengthen his physical fitness, and form energy flames on the surface of his body to continuously burn the surrounding targets. Secondly, the ability of the Sentinel robot. He also has multiple variant abilities, and can make corresponding targeted changes according to the changes of opponents and the environment. Finally, under the reinforcement of dozens of arc reactors transplanted in his body, he burns all the energy of dozens of arc reactors in a short time, providing him with a significant enhancement, greatly improving the strength of the above two abilities, making him a true Superman. More importantly, Su-Mu found the creation of the Eternals in it. It must be the items that Colonel Stryker asked for when he contacted the Eternals. These items are now in the body of the red giant, completely fused with the adamantium skeleton, forming an indestructible skeleton. This is a man-made monster, a monster stronger than the Hulk and the Eternals. After learning the news of the red giant, Su-Mu was not afraid, but even more pleased. This powerful monster can let him show some of the charm of LV5 energy absorption. White wings spread out behind Su-Mu, accompanied by the red and black energy currents that continued to rage on his body, making him feel like a god or a demon. In the white wing state, his physical fitness was improved again. Facing the red giant rushing towards him, the red and black lightning wrapped him, and then slammed on the red giant's head. Even if the red giant immediately turned himself into a steel man, Su-Mu still easily smashed his head. The ability of the steel man, second only to the adamantium alloy, was violently destroyed. After the red giant's head was destroyed, Sumu did not stop, but put his hand on the red giant's chest, and the red and white singularity hit the red giant's body at close range. The next moment, the red giant flew out at hundreds of times the speed of sound, landed on the ground, and kept rolling on the ground, forming a gully of tens of kilometers. Suemu's mood became more and more excited. A sandbag that was so durable, he liked it so much. He ignored the 4 strikers who wanted to escape. After the portal reached level 4, even if they escaped to other parallel universes, they could not escape his pursuit. Sumu took a step forward, and the LV4 technique of Kang twisted the space, folding the space he was in with the distant space, and he came to the landing point of the red giant in an instant. At this time, the red giant's chest was completely shattered, and even with his current bones, he could not resist the attack of the red and white singularity and was easily destroyed. Before the wound on the red giant's chest had fully recovered, Sumu stretched out his arm. The perfect body that had already transcended the mundane world was once again strengthened by energy, which had already surpassed the scope of mortal cognition. He stabbed his palm into the red giant's chest with force, and then tore it apart suddenly. An adamantium skeleton that integrated the technology of the Eternals was forcibly disassembled by him. The hot golden blood stained Suemu's chest, but the next moment it absorbed all the energy and turned into powder in the terrifying black and red lightning. Then he threw the adamantium skeleton in his hand aside, and Sumu continued to disassemble the body of the red giant. One foot stepped on the chest of the red giant. Even though he kept struggling, the terrifying power shattered the surrounding area of several kilometers, but he still couldn't escape the suppression of the seemingly thin white-haired man in front of him. The other foot slightly exerted force to crush the red giant's thigh, and then one hand suddenly exerted force. With the piercing sound of bone cracking, Sumu actually pulled up the red giant's thigh by the roots. The bones continued to regenerate, but they were completely torn apart again at the moment of regeneration, and so on. Under the dual effects of severe pain and mental destruction, even the red giant whose consciousness was wiped out by the experiment was instinctively afraid. He struggled frantically to escape, but he couldn't break free from the restraints at all. After continuous experiments, Sumu has determined his strength. If he strengthens his body, even his body is enough to ravage Thanos. Finally, Sumu experiments with the last ability. He moved his feet and gave up suppressing the red giant. Seeing this, the red giant immediately fled, and the newly grown legs broke the rocks below and jumped away, and the speed instantly reached dozens of times the speed of sound. However, when he just escaped and had not yet left the 20-meter range around Sumu, countless energies around him were absorbed by Sumu and condensed into a large number of energy chains that entangled him. The invincible red giant could not even break free from a chain and was bound tightly. And what's even more terrifying is that the almost endless energy in his body disappeared at a very fast speed and was swallowed by an unknown vortex. Energy absorption continuously absorbs the surrounding energy. Sumu is like a terrifying energy vortex, turning the area within a radius of 20 meters into an energy vacuum. Even the movement of molecules is almost stagnant, and the temperature around is rapidly decreasing, approaching absolute zero in an instant. Everything around them is shattered under the low temperature, and only 2 people are still standing in the absolute zero environment. One of them is Sumu, the creator of everything. He can now control the flow of energy and even violate the laws of physics to make energy flow from low to high, so he is not affected by anything. The other one is the red giant, but unlike Sumu, he is just barely supported by the huge energy in his body. However, as time goes by, the energy in his body is rapidly consumed, and even the light emitted by dozens of arc reactors exposed on the surface of his body has dimmed. The system prompts keep ringing. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. At the same time, the muscles of the red giant gradually atrophy, and the almost endless energy in his body is madly reduced. In just a few tens of seconds, the energy in his body was completely exhausted, and then his body emitting hot flames gradually became cold, and it was reduced to absolute zero like the surrounding environment. Sensing the power of energy absorption now, Sumu smiled with satisfaction, and then took another step and appeared above the military base, and the body of the red giant on the spot decomposed on the ruins with the breeze passing by. Arriving above the military base, Sumu used 6 eyes to check the location of Stryker and others. In the sight of the 6 eyes, Stryker and others were walking towards a vortex door. Sumu felt a familiar breath from the vortex door, which was the parallel universe that he felt after the portal was upgraded to level 4. Obviously, Stryker and others tried to go to the parallel universe to avoid his attack. If it was him before, he might have let Stryker and others escape, but now he can already travel through parallel universes. Even if Stryker went to other parallel universes to avoid, he could not escape the fate of death. The white wings fluttered slightly, and Sumu instantly came to the room protected by the space shield. A purple flashed in his hand, and a small imaginary dagger quickly formed. With a few afterimages, the space shield was easily broken by Sumu, and the adamantium wall behind him was also destroyed. The sound of the adamantium wall being destroyed attracted the attention of Mr. Fantastic and others, but they did not panic because there was another layer of shield in the room to protect them. Unlike the previous shield, this shield is based on the same principle as the matter decomposition lightsaber, which can decompose all nearby substances. Although the energy consumption is very huge, an arc reactor is required every 3 seconds, but it is all worth it. The time gained by the shield is enough for them to escape easily. Until this time, Sumu finally met Colonel Stryker, who had been chasing him since he crossed over. Colonel Stryker stared at the White Devil with hatred in his eyes. Because of the White Devil, the mutants he spent his life suppressing rose again. The government was afraid of the deterrence of the White Devil and dared not continue to suppress the mutants, and announced the treaty to liberate the mutants. This made his life's hard work go to waste. Because of the White Devil, his position in the government continued to decline. The failure of several consecutive plans caused the upper-level officials to have a sharp decline in their trust in him. If it weren't for a mysterious organization suddenly funding him, I'm afraid even the research funds would have been exhausted. He looked at Sumu and gritted his teeth and said, "White Devil, wait for me. When we meet next time, it will be the time of your death." In response to Colonel Stryker's threat, Sumu just chuckled and ignored it. Mr. Magic looked at Sumu and said seriously, "White Devil, you are an extremely unstable element, and your upper limit of strength is too high, even enough to threaten the multiverse. I will definitely wipe you out next time we meet." Sumu did not say anything about Mr. Magic's words. He just asked curiously, "Are you sure you can escape?" Mr. Magic smiled confidently. "With your current strength, it is impossible to travel through parallel universes. Even if you can travel through parallel universes later, how can you find us in the face of so many parallel universes?" Mr. Magic was obviously very confident. This was a crushing from wisdom, which made him regain the confidence that was defeated by the White Devil. Mr. Fantastic finally said, "We'll see each other again." After that, he and Stryker stepped into the parallel world jump device and disappeared, and until then, the external shield also disappeared at the same time. Looking at the 4 people disappearing in front of him, Sumu calmly used repulsion to destroy everything within a radius of 1 kilometer, destroyed the few remaining space disruption devices, and then opened a portal, looking at Mr. Fantastic, who looked incredulous in front of him and smiled brightly. "Drive Reed, we meet again." "You." Looking at the white demon in front of him, Mr. Fantastic showed an incredible look. Even with his wisdom, he couldn't understand why Sumu could easily travel through the parallel universe, and how he located his current position. Although he didn't understand why Sumu could come to this universe, he knew that there were more important things to do now. He shouted to the 3 people who were waiting for him in the distance with joy. "Run." The 3 people in the distance are the other members of the Fantastic Four. Reed had predicted his possible failure long before, and teleported the other Fantastic 3 to other universes, so as to avoid them being killed by the White Devil. But he didn't expect that the White Devil had the ability to travel through parallel universes. When Reed just warned loudly, he suddenly found that the Invisible Woman and others in the distance had all disappeared from their original places. He thought of something, so he turned his head tremblingly and looked at the White Devil, only to see 3 more figures in front of him, which were the 3 Invisible Women. The 3 Invisible Women are constantly using their abilities to break free from the powerful distortion field, but their abilities are just ants compared to those of mortals. Sumu grabbed the Invisible Woman's neck and lifted her up. Ignoring the scolding of the Stone Man and Thunderbolt, he smiled gently at Mr. Fantastic. I think that the troublesome Mr. Fantastic will also threaten the multiverse, so I sentence all the Fantastic Four to death. Huge energy was injected into the Invisible Woman's body, and a large amount of energy veins continued to spread from her neck until it spread to her whole body. No. Under Mr. Fantastic's desperate gaze, accompanied by a strong burst of energy, the Invisible Woman suddenly exploded like a bomb, and the flames also submerged the Thunderbolt Stoneman beside her. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Seeing his girlfriend and two close friends die, Mr. Fantastic completely lost his mind and roared wildly. He knew that Sumu was definitely not dead. Sure enough, accompanied by crisp footsteps, Sumu walked out of the violent flames, unscathed. He looked at Mr. Fantastic in front of him and smiled disdainfully. You don't have this chance. Countless space slashes enveloped Mr. Fantastic, and the rubber body that ignored any physical attack suddenly shattered, forming a long thing like noodles. After dealing with Mr. Fantastic, Sumu looked at Colonel Stryker and the other two hiding in the distance, and then slowly said, Mr. Stryker, we meet again, are you ready? Facing the white demon who smiled gently at him, Stryker felt that all the blood in his body was frozen. He only felt that the world around him suddenly lost its color, and everything seemed unreal like a dream. Why can the white demon travel through parallel universes? Didn't Mr. Fantastic and others clearly state that it is impossible for him to travel through parallel universes and find them in the vast parallel universes? So what is the situation now? This is a dream, yes, it must be a dream. The strong oppression from the white demon and the fear of impending death entangled and intertwined in Stryker's mind, until finally defeating his spirit and making him crazy. Seeing this scene, Sumu was unwilling. Mr. Stryker, don't worry, I will treat you now. He is so kind that he doesn't want to see Stryker's will collapse. That would be too boring, isn't it? So Sumu slowly walked towards Stryker, ready to use the reversal technique to heal him. The LV4 reversal technique can cure all diseases and restore the object to its original state, even for non-living things, not to mention Colonel Stryker who is just mentally ill. As he slowly walked towards Stryker, the two big bosses beside him suddenly walked away without making a sound. Seeing Sumu looking over, the big boss squeezed out an even more disgusting arc on his already ugly face and smiled at Sumu. Sir White Devil, I wonder if you can let me go. I can work for you. Yes, I can too. Ivan Vanko on the side immediately followed. Sumu thought for a moment, then nodded. Yes, you are all very smart. If I take you under my command, it will be a great help. The two big bosses showed joy on their faces. But suddenly, the terrifying repulsive force enveloped the big boss, and a large amount of green blood splashed, pouring on Ivan Vanko, covering his vision. Ivan Vanko trembled as he wiped the blood from his eyes, looked at the dead boss, and heard the devil's whisper. It's a pity, you are too ugly, I don't like you. Ivan Vanko immediately tidied his hair, wiped the green sticky blood from his face, and smiled stiffly at Sumu. My Lord White Devil, I'm not ugly, I'm not ugly. Looking at Ivan Vanko for a few times, Sumu slowly said as his heart beat violently and he was extremely nervous. A little ugly. Ivan Vanko became nervous. But he still looks a bit human. Ivan Vanko finally relaxed, and he wagged his tail to Sumu like a pug. Yes, yes, I will serve you for the rest of my life. But before he could finish, the twisted position swallowed him up, and the bright red and green were entangled on the ground, indistinguishable from each other. The voice of the devil continued to come. Unfortunately, you just raised your left foot first, which violated my taboo, so you must die. Ignoring the red and green blood on the side, Sumu came to Stryker, used the reversal technique to restore his spirit to normal, and then smiled brightly at the normal Colonel Stryker. We still have a long time, take your time. The screams and the sound of broken bones lasted for a long time, and only stopped after several hours. Opening the portal and returning to the original universe, Sumu felt refreshed and comfortable. A thorn that had been stuck in his throat since the crossing was finally pulled out. Returning to the Seaview Villa, Sumu did nothing but lay on the bed and fell asleep. At this time on the Earth, all the enemies were eliminated by him, and no one could threaten him anymore. Suemu's mental restlessness calmed down for a long time. In the next few days, Sumu did nothing except constantly training skills. He took a long-awaited rest. The skills that Su Mu chose to train during this time were vector operation and unknown wings. During the training process, Su Mu discovered that there was a certain connection between the unknown wings. When training the unknown wings white, the experience value of the unknown wings black would also be improved. After a little thought, Su Mu knew why. In the original work, the white wing is a perfect version of the black wing. The two are in a superior subordinate relationship, so when Su Mu trains the white wing, the experience value of the black wing will also be improved. After more than 10 days, all three skills have been greatly improved. Vector Operation Experience +1. Congratulations, your skill Vector Operation has been upgraded. Vector Operation LV3 1/3000th control the direction of all understood vectors, and then create a fictitious vector axis, including force, speed, acceleration, displacement, impulse, momentum, electric field strength, magnetic induction strength, etc., and can analyze the phenomenon in front of you and analyze its essence. Unknown Wings Black Experience +1. Congratulations, your skill Unknown Wings Black has been upgraded. Unknown Wings Black LV2 1/300th manipulate the phase force in space to form black wings, greatly enhancing the user's strength. Unknown Wings White Experience +1. Congratulations, your skill Unknown Wings White has been upgraded. Unknown Wings White LV2 1/300th manipulate the phase power in space to form white wings, greatly enhancing the user's strength. Because after energy absorption reaches LV5, Su Mu's precision in energy manipulation has been greatly improved, so the speed of skill experience increase has also been greatly improved. In the past 10 days, Su Mu mainly trained vector manipulation. At this time, vector manipulation has reached LV3, which can reflect all vectors that Su Mu understands, and can analyze by observing the things in front of him. Once this kind of thing is fully understood, then these powers can be reflected. Unlike Accelerator, Su Mu not only has his brain comparable to a computer, but also has 6 eyes. The 6 eyes allow Su Mu to clearly see the veins of energy and help him analyze the essence of these energies. With a brain comparable to a computer, Su Mu's speed of analyzing energy is much faster than Accelerator. However, at this time, the template fusion degree has only reached 36%, and it has only unlocked 36% of Accelerator's computing power, so Su Mu cannot surpass Accelerator, but with the improvement of template fusion, he will be able to do it sooner or later. Control 3 infinite gems to rotate around the body. A large amount of energy is constantly emitted from the infinite gems and then absorbed by Su Mu, improving the template fusion degree. Su Mu drew a circle and came to a coast. He was on a volcano at this time, using his 6 eyes to look at the magma in the volcano. In a few days, the Celestials will go to Earth at any time. He needs to prepare a gift for them before the Eternals come. And the Celestials that will be born on Earth are undoubtedly the best carriers of this gift. Judging from the scene of the final battle between the Eternals, the gods sleeping in the center of the Earth will revive from here. This must be the closest location to him. Within the 6-eye vision range, Su Mu did not notice the existence of any high-energy life, so he jumped directly into the magma and rushed deep into the Earth's core. The 1000-degree high-temperature magma could not cause any harm to Su Mu. The energy absorption isolated all surrounding heat, and even the clothes were not damaged at all. As it went deeper, the surrounding pressure became heavier, but Su Mu's speed did not slow down at all and still maintained its original speed. After time passed, he traveled to the bottom of the magma, and below was hard rock. His speed did not slow down, and a purple illusion sphere was generated in front of him, annihilating the rocks on the path, opening up a path for him to continue deeper. Suddenly, Su Mu's figure stopped, and a humanoid object emitting huge energy appeared in his 6-eyed energy vision, like a mythical titan sleeping deep in the earth. Hot energy continuously pours into the body of the giant god from the center of the earth, is absorbed by him, and becomes the nourishment for his growth. This is the celestial group. They grow in the center of a planet and constantly plunder the planet's nutrients. When they are fully formed, the planet will be destroyed. Looking at the young god in front of him, Su Mu showed a mysterious smile, then moved to the head of the young god, and placed his palm on his head. Yellow energy lines continued to spread from the forehead of the young god. Even a fully formed god is only a single universe-level powerhouse and cannot completely ignore the energy of the Mind Stone, let alone a young god who has not yet been born. Under the influence of the Mind Stone, the god's mind was tampered with and gradually took the shape of Su-mu. After the yellow energy completely covered the god's body, Su-mu smiled with satisfaction, opened the portal and returned to the Seaview Villa. At this time, everything was ready, except for the upcoming god team. A few days later, Su-mu did not wait for the members of the Celestial God group. Instead, Tony Stark came to look for him. Tony Stark was not in very good condition at this time, with multiple scratches all over his body and even a burn scar on his chest. After activating the reversal spell to heal Tony Stark's body, Su-mu asked curiously, "What did you do to get hurt?" Today, Tony has mastered the power of magic and technology, and has a symbiote. Even the research on nano armor is nearing completion. His strength at this time has not only improved several times compared to the original work, but even the Hulk is no match for him. And the Supreme Master said that after Su-mu leaves this universe, she will hand the Supreme Master to Tony, and he will protect the Earth until Doctor Strange can take over the position of the Supreme Master. This also means that the Supreme Mage has recognized Tony's current strength, and he can still protect the Earth for at least a few years. So why is Tony injured when he's so heavily enhanced? Tony said helplessly, "I was resting in the villa a few days ago and was suddenly attacked by dozens of people who were all red. Even if I activated the nano armor and defeated them with the help of magic, my body could not avoid being injured." "Your ability is really useful. My injuries completely recovered in a few seconds. You know, I broke a bone." Quote. Su-mu just smiled slightly at Tony's compliment. "I think those dozens of people are superhumans injected with the extremis virus, right?" Tony was surprised. He did not tell Su-mu the detailed information, but he immediately realized that Su-mu had already shown the ability to foresee, and he must have already known about the desperate virus. So he said slightly resentfully, "You knew it, but you didn't tell me, otherwise I wouldn't have been hurt. But not only are you fine, you've also gained combat experience, haven't you?" "That's right, by the way, because you gave me the symbiote and the body of the Eternals. I analyzed them and finally developed a brand new nano armor." Tony threw a bracelet full of futuristic technology to Su-mu, and then continued. "There are a large number of nanorobots compressed in this bracelet. They will be bound to your spirit when you wear it for the first time. After that, you only need to use your thoughts to activate them. They are as strong as the Eternals' armor and have the regeneration ability of the symbiote. The only drawback is that they require a lot of energy, but I guess this is not a burden to you." Quote. After tying the bracelet on his wrist, Su-mu moved his thoughts slightly, and the tiny fluid-like nanorobots spread from his wrist to his whole body. When his whole body was covered by nanorobots, Su-mu felt that his body strength had increased significantly without being powered by energy. Moreover, the nanorobots could continuously change their appearance according to his wishes and transform into various styles of clothing. Su-mu was very satisfied with this. After sending Tony Stark away, Su-mu began to study his pocket space. As his strength continues to grow, even though the unlimited spell is still level 4, his power has been fully improved. At this time, his pocket space has reached thousands of cubic meters. After guessing that if the strength of the template character breaks through the limit of the single universe and reaches the multiverse, the infinite gems and the following energy will not be able to improve the integration of the template, so after careful consideration, Su-mu determined his future advancement plan. Create the universe. Starting from the pocket space, create a real universe from scratch. As his consciousness sank into the empty bag space, Su-mu took the lead in activating the eternal fire, making it float above the empty bag space. The scorching immortal flame burned slowly and violently like the sun in the sky, illuminating the empty bag space. The energy released by it flowed in a dense operation mode under Su-mu's refined manipulation. This is the barrier technique of the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. The higher energy makes the barrier technique more powerful, stabilizes the empty bag space, and makes it continue to expand. Then the frost box was activated, severe cold was generated under the empty bag space, and a tough ice layer emerged under the empty bag space to form land. The energy of the frost box was also mobilized by Su-mu, and the pocket space grew faster and faster. The two different energies represent yin and yang, blending in the pocket space to form the prototype of the world. Under Su-mu's full maintenance, the pocket space was broken, but it finally stabilized. The energy of the frost box and the eternal fire continued to expand the space until it was stabilized to the size of a small town. Moreover, the energy of the frost box and the energy of the eternal fire continued to blend, forming a higher quality energy. Although the intensity of this energy is lower than that of the infinite gems, there are more possibilities in the future. This is just the energy of the eternal fire and the frost box. What if it is the combination of the phoenix power and other high-dimensional energies? That will form an energy that exceeds the level of the infinite gems. And Su Mu can definitely do this in the future. According to Su Mu's intuition, the current energy absorption and six eyes can control tiny fragments of the phoenix power. Then when the energy absorption and six eyes reach a higher level, even after reaching LV8 and LV9, it is possible to completely control all energy fragments and shape the pocket space into a truly infinite multiverse. He will also become a strong man beyond the level of the omnipotent universe. Using the barrier technique to stabilize the pocket space, Su Mu thought for a moment and set a 5-year development plan for the future. 1. Find more treasures with infinite energy in the multiverse and even in different worlds, and constantly improve the pocket space to evolve it into a pocket universe and even the omnipotent universe. 2. Find a lot of energy and unlock new character panels. 3. Continuously train skills and improve skill levels. When the energy floating in the air was wiped out, Su Mu was about to go to a party hosted by Tony when she suddenly felt something and looked up at the sky. A giant taller than a mountain appeared at the end of her sight. His body was taller than the earth, and his body was constantly emitting terrifying hot energy radiation. Even if he was not within the observation range of the six eyes, Su Mu could observe the violent energy visible to the naked eye, emitting infinite power. He was the leader of the celestial god group, Judge Elizam. Taj. When Elizam just appeared, Ji Yuyi looked in the direction of Elizam. His eyes seemed to travel through infinite time and space, looking at the towering giant outside the earth. The next moment, she continued to look in another direction, and the white man was also looking at Elizam in the distance. Facing the leader of the celestial god group, a single universe-level strongman who had existed for countless years, there was no fear in his eyes. However, Ji Yuyi knew that the gap in strength could not be made up by courage. Although he didn't know why Su Mu didn't leave in advance, he was destined to stay after Alisem's arrival. The gap was too obvious, like a mantis trying to stop a car, overestimating his own abilities. Ji Yuyi sighed, his eyes were complicated, and he didn't know what he was thinking. In the gorgeous palace in the center of Asgard, Odin woke up from his slumber because he sensed the terrifying energy turbulence. His sight passed through infinite time and space, watching the god who came to the earth, and immediately realized why this god came. It's the White Devil. Knowing this news, Odin also sighed slightly. He didn't tell Thor about this news, for fear that Thor would go to help the benefactor of Asgard at all costs. Although Su Mu was grateful to Asgard, they couldn't bet on the entire Asgard to support Su Mu. He was responsible for tens of thousands of Asgardian civilians. This is the responsibility of the king, and also the king's helplessness. When he was young, he once put on the destroyer armor to try to fight against the Celestials, but even so, he was still defeated, not to mention that the destroyer armor was destroyed, and his body was already old now. I hope the judge will judge Su Mu innocent. Odin could only pray like this. Unlike Odin and Ancient One, Su Mu looked at the towering giant at the end of his sight, and the excitement on his face could not be suppressed. He smoothed his hair on his forehead back, forming a big back head. 30-meter-long white wings spread out from behind him, giving him all-round amplification. 3 infinite stones flew out of the pocket space, constantly rotating around him and emitting hot energy, and then being absorbed by him. Energy absorption LV5 ignores the load of the body and runs at full power. The vector circulates around Su Mu, and the space is constantly vibrating. Through the refined manipulation given by the 6 eyes, Su Mu adjusts his state to the best. Come on, eternal god, come and receive your gift. Arisem arrived on Earth. His body was almost as big as the Earth. Looking at him from Earth, it was like a canopy hanging above the sky. The moment he arrived on Earth, Arisem discovered the disappearance of the Eternals and learned what happened based on the information on Earth. The fact surprised him. The Eternals he sent to Earth were killed by a human, and that human was a mutant descendant of the mutants. The responsibility of the Eternals was to kill the mutants that remained on Earth and maintain the number of humans to protect the young gods. Being killed by the offspring of his prey was undoubtedly a very dramatic scene. He rarely became curious about the specific situation of the mutant named Su-Mu. He would judge Su-Mu. With Arisom's ability, he instantly determined Su-Mu's location. Along with the obscure energy fluctuations, several rings suddenly appeared around Su-Mu, binding his body and trying to pull him towards Arisom. The black and red energy current around Su-Mu's body continued to spread, and then the repulsive force comparable to that of a small supernova suddenly came out of his body, destroying everything around him, and even the energy ring bound to him was obviously damaged. This made Arisom curious, so he immediately increased the number of rings, and dozens of energy rings bound Su-Mu. This time, even the LV4 reversal of the technique, could not have any effect on these rings. However, as the purple current spread around Su-Mu, the surrounding rings that could resist the impact of the supernova immediately collapsed and were annihilated by the false mass. Su-Mu's performance finally made Arisom look at him. Using extreme repulsion and gravity to distort space and form false mass as the prototype of creating matter. I am very curious, how do you get this power? The voice of the judge Arisom resounded in every corner of the earth. At first, he wanted to communicate with Su-Mu through telepathy, but he found that his consciousness could not enter Su-Mu's consciousness, so he could only use the method of voice transmission. Su-Mu naturally didn't know this. After destroying the energy ring that bound him, he stepped out into the universe and confronted Arisom in the deep dark space. Facing the question from the gods, Su-Mu said calmly, "This is all obtained through my talent and hard work." Arisom, although he didn't know how Su-Mu obtained this power, Arisom knew that this was definitely not something that could be achieved by talent and hard work alone. "Do you think you are Franklin?" Facing the silent gods, Su-Mu continued to ask. "So how are you going to judge me? Life or death?" Facing the mortal who provoked him, the gods were silent, and the obscure energy fluctuations scanned Su-Mu's body, and then a majestic voice came. "The unknown mutant ability you possess is very valuable, so you should survive, but because you killed the Eternals sent to Earth by me, affecting the regeneration of the new gods, I will punish you. You will be transformed into a new Eternal, all memories will be erased, and you will replace the original Eternals to guard the birth of the new gods, but in order to punish you, you will have no teammates and can only spend a long time alone." Facing the high judgment of the gods, Su-Mu was not angry, but asked calmly, "What qualifications do you have to judge me?" Arisom replied, "The Celestials maintain the order of the universe. They are the creators and maintainers of the order of the universe. Mortals, you can question, but you can never resist." Because Arisom's words resounded in every corner of the earth, everyone understood what happened, and different voices sounded from human society. Because of Su-Mu's intimidation, most people at this time supported him superficially, trying to avoid the cleansing after he dominated the world. They kept speaking on social platforms. "Brother, come on, you are the best, this shitty god is definitely not your opponent. Come on, we will always support you. The White Devil is invincible." Unlike this group of people, another small group of people are absolute opponents of the White Devil. They keep cursing on the internet. "White Devil, now even the gods come to judge you, your end is here. The White Devil will die, humans can't be defeated by lowly mutants. The masters of this world are still humans, and even if mutants are proud for a while, they will eventually be defeated." Another group of people are mutants. Unlike the previous two groups, they are absolute supporters of the White Devil, especially after the White Devil slaughtered the military and destroyed the White House. His support rate among mutants reached the extreme. "Long live the Savior, kill this ignorant god. You are invincible, you can't fail, you will lead the mutants to rule the world." But unlike these ignorant mortals, some superhumans who know the power of the gods, or Odin and the Supreme Sorcerer who have been paying attention here, are far less optimistic. They look at Su-Mu worriedly, wondering how he will face the invincible god in front of him. Su-Mu naturally doesn't know what's happening on the internet, and even if he knows, he doesn't care. Now all his attention is on the god in front of him, and his gift is ready to move. Facing Arisom's condescending judgment, Su-Mu smiled and asked, "What if I resist? You will receive a more cruel punishment." Su-Mu no longer had a fight with Arisom. The brightness of the 3 infinity stones spinning around his body reached its extreme. The endless energy was absorbed by Su-mu, raising the upper limit of his strength. Su-mu stretched out his index finger, and a red and white singularity formed in front of him, eventually forming a 10-meter supernova. The technique reverses, H. The supernova shattered and flew towards Orisum, and the passing time and space was distorted by the terrifying repulsion, forming ripples visible to the naked eye. But facing an attack that could easily defeat the Eternals, Alatham just moved his mind slightly, and the space was folded at will, and the supernova flying towards him was instantly annihilated. Facing the ant's resistance, he was not angry, but said indifferently as before. Useless resistance. Alatham stretched out his palms that were taller than the mountains and pressed towards Su-mu. Around Su-mu, time and space were disturbed. If it weren't for the system that made him immune to psychic abilities, his thoughts would also be invaded and he would lose everything. The idea of resistance. At this moment, Odin and the Supreme Mage couldn't bear to watch anymore. They knew that Su-mu would be easily suppressed by Alatham and transformed into a new Eternal. Any secrets in his body would be analyzed by analysts and everything would be lost. But at this moment, a mountain-like portal appeared in front of Su-mu, and an equally huge arm stretched out from it, blocking Alatham's attack. Under everyone's gaze, the portal continued to expand until a giant the same size as a mountain walked out of the magma and faced Alatham together with Su-mu. Alatham's tone that had remained unchanged for thousands of years finally changed significantly. He asked Su-mu, "You humble mortal, you actually interrupted the birth of the new god and controlled him." Su-mu replied disdainfully, "Otherwise, are we going to watch him take away all the energy of the earth and turn it into a Death Star? It is your honor to help the god be born and die for the god." Facing Alatham, who was still condescending but whose anger could not be concealed in his tone, Su-mu responded with a smile. "Screw you, I have the final say in my destiny, and I won't tolerate other people's irresponsible remarks." "I retract my previous judgment," Alatham said with clear anger in his tone, "you deserve to die." But facing the angry Alatham, Su-mu didn't care. He just controlled the 3 surrounding rough cosmic stones to fly towards the young god, and finally embedded them on the forehead of the young god. Alatham immediately knew what Su-mu was planning to do, and quickly fired energy rays to try to stop it, but it was too late. After receiving the blessing of 3 infinite raw stones, the weak life of the young god suddenly burned, and a large amount of energy from the infinite raw stones poured into the burning life, and then bloomed with more intense light and radiated more scorching heat. The larva of the god was originally only about the size of a child compared to Alatham, but with the energy supply of the infinite rough stone, it grew rapidly until it was as big as Alatham. The two faced each other, just like the creators in myths and legends. Confrontation. However, unlike Alatham, the newborn god obtained such powerful energy by burning his life, which was not sustainable. After a period of time, his life was completely burned out, and then turned into nutrients and returned to the earth. Alatham naturally knew what happened. The anger in his tone was not concealed, and he asked extremely angrily, "Mortal, you actually blasphemed the god, used the Mind Stone to control his consciousness, and used him as a tool to fight. You deserve to be killed." Su-mu did not reply, but asked Alatham coldly, "God, will you bleed?" Under the incredible gaze of the Supreme Mage, under the shocked onlookers of Odin, and under the fearful eyes of all humans on Earth, the 3 infinite raw stones burst out with infinite light and heat, while Su-mu entered the head of the newborn god and was completely reborn. Control of the god's body. Then, a supernova the size of the moon formed on the right hand of the newborn god, and he pushed it towards Alatham's face. At this time, Alatham could no longer remain calm. He had to retreat immediately to avoid the attack. Even he couldn't ignore such a powerful attack. Alatham's arm was entangled with huge energy, and then he collided head-on with the new god controlled by Su-mu. The terrifying energy aftermath spreads far away in an instant, destroying everything in its path. The face of the Supreme Mage changed drastically. She immediately teleported to Asgard, and then was transported by Odin, who also had a tacit understanding. With the help of Odin and the Time Gem, the mirror space exploded, but it did not separate Su-mu and Elise. Instead of dragging Mu into the mirror space, he pulled the entire solar system into the mirror space. She cannot influence the two gods in the slightest, and can only hide the solar system to avoid the aftermath of the battle between the two gods and avoid destruction. The energy moved forward at great speed in the distance. After passing by a planet, the huge energy completely tore the ground of that planet into pieces. It seemed that the entire planet would fall apart in the next moment. And this force continued to spread, moving far away at supersonic speed, until it hit a woman who was speeding towards the Earth, knocking her away and causing her to vomit blood. Captain Marvel looked in the direction of the Earth in shock. What happened there? At the same time, being hit head-on by a supernova the same size as the moon, the god finally bleeds. Orizom's arm was obviously damaged, and a huge amount of energy leaked from the damaged part. It was absorbed by the new god as soon as it dissipated in the universe. The new god controlled by Su-Mu is like an amplifier, which can amplify Su-Mu's ability. Under the effect of greatly amplified energy absorption, the blood leaking from Alisem's wound was absorbed by the new god and turned into fuel to enhance his strength. The two giants fought madly together, and endless energy dissipated in this universe, destroying everything around. The surrounding space was folded by Alizem, forming a blade to slash at Su-Mu, but Su-Mu, who had an unlimited technique, could also manipulate space. He teleported to Alisem's side and stabbed Alisem's back with a phantom dagger of thousands of kilometers. However, with Alisem's powerful perception, he would naturally not be attacked by Su-Mu. He controlled the energy, strengthened his physique, and smashed Su-Mu with a fist comparable to a small planet, hitting him immediately. The terrifying power bloomed on the surface of the new god, but still could not hurt him at all. The vector operation controlled all vectors, forming a vector axis in front of Su-Mu, hitting all the forces together and attacking Alizem. The terrifying vector ignored Alisem's defense and pierced his chest directly, forming several terrifying wounds the size of mountains. The hot energy flowed out of the wounds and distorted the surrounding space. Alizem was injured. The great god was injured by a mortal. Although the injury recovered quickly, Alizem still felt endless anger. This was blasphemy and insult. As a high judge and the leader of the great god group, when was he treated like this? You deserve to die, Alizem continued, but this time it was no longer a high judgment, but a personal grudge from him, and his tone could not hide his anger. He completely put Su-Mu on the same level as himself and could no longer ignore him. The judge Alizem erupted with terrifying energy fluctuations, which was enough to instantly destroy the entire solar system and even a wide range of areas. The surrounding space and time were controlled by Alizem, and immediately covered Su-Mu's power. Under the powerful force, the body of the new god quickly decomposed. Moreover, a huge energy beam formed in front of Alizem, and the energy beam comparable to that of a star rushed towards Su-Mu. Before, Alizem looked down at Su-Mu from a high position and judged him, but he did not attack with all his strength. However, after being injured, he could no longer remain calm and used part of his strength to attack Su-Mu. Facing such a terrifying energy beam, Su-Mu controlled the new god and cut open the space in front of him. A portal larger than a planet formed in front of him. The energy attack from Alizem passed through the portal and was then teleported behind him and hit him. However, because there was no vector operation, the defense of the powerful armor was fully demonstrated, and the energy that was enough to destroy several solar systems could not cause any harm to Alizem. Looking at the body of the newborn god gradually dissipating, Alizem said to Su-Mu angrily, I will seal you in the abyss of the universe, constantly burning your soul, and make you spend endless years in pain and torture. This is the price you pay for provoking the gods. That's really terrible, I don't want this. Su-Mu muttered to himself. This is not up to you. Under the effect of Alisem's energy, the body of the newborn god quickly collapsed. Even if he had the blessing of 3 infinite stones, he was still no match for Alizem. Without the help of the newborn god, without the amplification of 3 infinite stones, and the help of various terrifying skills, Su-Mu would never be able to hurt Alizem. Of course, he also knew this. The previous battle was just to delay time, for this moment. Seeing that the body of the newborn god was about to be completely decomposed, Su-Mu grinned at a rhythm and said, Great judge, I'm leaving first. The next time we meet, it won't be a small fight. I'm going to kill the god. Before I leave, I'll give you a gift. I hope you'll like it. Orhythm had a bad premonition, don't try to escape. But it was too late. Energy far more powerful than before was released from the body of the newborn god, and 3 infinite gems flashed a dazzling aura. In the head of the newborn god, Su-mu opened a portal, stepped out, passed through layers of multiverses, and entered that special universe. Then he took another step out, completely disappeared from the Marvel multiverse, and entered another equally majestic multiverse. Rhythm completely lost Su-mu's trace. After countless years, he finally experienced the taste of anger. However, before he could be angry for long, a huge energy suddenly erupted from the body of the newborn god in front of him. It was a purple imaginary mass. With the energy supply of 3 infinite stones, the power amplification of the newborn god, and the assistance of other skills, Su-mu sealed the imaginary sphere of the size of a planet in the body of the newborn god, and it suddenly exploded when he left. The great power that was enough to penetrate the space annihilated the surrounding void and even opened a passage to another parallel universe. The terrifying aftermath spread rapidly and was about to hit the majestic god. Elizam wanted to use space jump to leave and avoid this terrifying attack, but the surrounding space had already been disturbed, and he couldn't avoid it. The next moment, the purple energy completely hit Alisam, and the armor, which was tens or hundreds of times harder than adamantium, shattered, revealing the energy entity hidden inside. Su-mu. Su-mu's name was transmitted to the entire universe along with energy, and almost all civilizations heard the roar of the gods. The Skrull Empire, the Kree Empire, the Sheer Empire and other cosmic civilizations all heard the roar of the gods in the distant void. They were shocked and the entire civilization fell into chaos. Who on earth could have made the great gods fall into anger? They all remembered the name, Su-mu, and immediately investigated to try to find out the origin of this name. Among them, the Kree Empire was the first to find out what the name Su-mu meant. Because of Captain Marvel, they already had a connection with the Earth, and their leader, the Supreme Wisdom, was a supercomputer that could easily search for most of the information in the universe. And Su-mu, who was famous throughout the Earth during this period, was naturally easily discovered by him. What? Just an Earthling? How is that possible? Even if he showed slightly superior strength, it is impossible to reach the level of angering the gods. Could it be that his strength has been improved countless times during this period, and he can already threaten the gods, so the gods pay attention to him? Then what did this Earthling named Su-mu do to make the gods angry and even lose their composure? They couldn't know that Su-mu actually controlled the body of a new god. They would never believe that an Earthling actually attacked the gods and even seriously injured them. At the coordinates of the original Earth, several huge figures emerged from the space. They looked at the Judge Elizam, whose armor had been restored to its original state, and were shocked. Infinite energy continued to vibrate in the void with their mood. Even if Alisam's appearance did not change much, the way they observed things was never based on appearance, but on the essence of energy. In their perception, Arisam's energy was obviously reduced. Even if it was not much, it still could not change the fact that he was already injured. What happened? Why was their leader, the immortal judge, injured? Could it be that the 5 great gods of creation took action? Or has another perfect user with a large piece of Phoenix Force fragment appeared? They did not even doubt Odin. Even wearing the destroyer armor, Odin, who was still at the peak of his strength, could not hurt them and could only be easily defeated. The Father of Heaven and the single universe level existence are far apart, like ants spying on humans. Arisam talked with other gods. There is a variable on the Earth. An alien without a multiverse isotope. He controlled the newborn gods who were about to be born on the Earth, and attacked me with the help of 3 infinite stones. I was careless and was injured by a hypothetical mass formed by the interweaving of repulsion and gravity. Illusionary mass. This is the prototype of creating matter. Could this human being actually create matter? A god asked. Orhythm replied. He can't create matter at present, but this human has great potential. He may even be the next Scarlet Witch or the next Franklin. Many members of the Celestials were silent. Their new judge knew that he was sure of this guess. But who are Scarlet Witch and Franklin? The most powerful Scarlet Witch in the multiverse can modify reality on a large scale, even more powerful than the Celestials. And Franklin, who can create pocket universes as soon as he was born, is even more powerful. Even the Celestials are not his opponents. At this time, the judge actually said that the human named Su-mu may reach the level of Franklin in the future. Even the members of the Celestials were shocked by this news. Rhythm finally said. He is an unstable molecule, which is very likely to threaten the balance of the multiverse and the order we have worked so hard to establish. Find him and kill him. Then, all the Celestials left from their original place and disappeared. Ancient One and Odin were in Asgard, observing the movements of the original site of the Earth, until all the members of the Celestials disappeared, and finally relaxed. With the help of Odin, Ancient One took the solar system out of the mirror space and returned it to its original position. Then the two father-level strongmen fell silent. What just happened shocked them, even they had never seen such an outrageous thing. Su Mu actually really hurt the Celestials and escaped intact. This is incredible. Earth, the abrupt disappearance of the huge god in outer space and the sudden appearance of the unique distortion phenomenon of the mirror space have made all humans on Earth confused. What happened just now? Did the White Devil win or lose? Where did the god go? The internet was once again in turmoil, and people from various camps made crazy speeches on the internet. Some people believed that the White Devil won and killed the god, completing the feat of killing the gods. Some people believed that the White Devil had been killed by the gods and fell into hell. Some people believed that the White Devil and the gods had died together and both died. Most mortals are just ants. They can't understand what happened. They don't even know what the gods are and where they come from. They can only go with the flow and be blindly stupid. Su Mu's disappearance brought huge changes to the Earth. One of the changes is that without Su Mu's manipulation, the influence of the mind gem disappeared, and the manipulated people returned to normal. Mystique curled up in the corner of the soft bed in despair, her whole body trembling. Other Hollywood actresses looked at her blankly, wondering what this woman who can change into many appearances and is very favored by the sponsor is crazy. After the influence of the Mind Stone completely disappeared, Mystique's will gradually recovered. She was shocked to find that during this period, she had been trying her best to serve her enemy, the demon who killed Charles and secretly manipulated Xavier's school for gifted youth. Her soul was trembling, and even her mutant ability was out of control, constantly changing forms. On the space carrier, many S.H.I.E.L.D. agents woke up from hypnosis. Nick Fury was in the office with an ugly face, looking at Coulson. Coulson, do you think the White Demon is still alive at this time? Nick Fury asked Coulson. After just regaining consciousness, he immediately issued several orders to stabilize the internal affairs of S.H.I.E.L.D. He really couldn't imagine what he had experienced during this period. S.H.I.E.L.D. was controlled by the White Demon. If the White Demon had not had the idea of dominating the Earth, he could easily dominate the Earth with the power of the Mind Stone alone. Coulson thought for a moment and replied, even the White Devil should be dead in the face of the gods, but because of uncertainty, we must be fully prepared to deal with the situation where the White Devil returns. And compared to the White Devil who has disappeared, we have another important thing to do, that is to fully take over the Ark. Nick Fury nodded. It is not entirely a bad thing for the White Devil to take over S.H.I.E.L.D. At least now they have mastered the method of making symbiotes and have a powerful army of symbiotes. More importantly, they know the threat of the Mad Titan from the depths of the universe and the spaceship Ark that has obtained hundreds of years of technology from the Earth. In Stark Tower, Tony Stark covered his head and looked at the sky with complicated eyes. It was obvious that he was also affected. Otherwise, with his personality, he would not be able to make friends with the White Devil who slaughtered civilians at will. But the White Devil also gave him a lot of help. The current nano armor, the magic power he mastered, and the truth about the death of his parents were all gifts from the White Devil. This made him have very complicated feelings towards the White Devil. In addition, the chaotic Xavier School for Gifted Youth, the joyful military, and the restless society were all in turmoil because of the departure of the White Devil. Unknowingly, the entire Earth was the shadow of the White Devil. Unlike the chaotic Marvel Earth, as the source of everything, Su Mu came to another multiverse through the universe's transfer point. And the name of this multiverse is DC. Gotham, a city where darkness and sin are intertwined, exudes a strange and mysterious atmosphere under the night. Haze has been shrouding this terminally ill city all year round, blocking all the sunlight that may shine into Gotham, making it always rotten and dangerous. As usual, crimes and killings continue to occur in various dark corners. After all, maggots are most likely to breed in the shadows of high-rise buildings. But today is destined to be unusual. An unexpected visitor has traveled through countless dimensions and parallel worlds and came to the hotbed of sin. If an ordinary person came to Gotham by accident, it would be really unlucky, but this unexpected visitor is different. If one party is bound to be unlucky, it will not be him, but Gotham. Selina bent her body and walked in the eaves of the high-rise building. She was like a cat, elegant and agile. Any tiny corner could become her place to stay. Because of the ability of a cat, she is the best thief in the world and can steal anything. Her target today is the treasure room of a small gangster boss. The gang of this gangster boss is not outstanding in Gotham, but he has a lot of collections as he owns some jewelry business. He does not have to worry about revenge later and has enough gains. This is a very suitable target for theft. The theft process has been smooth. She used superb theft skills to obtain a piece of jewelry that she liked very much, and then left calmly. No one noticed in the process. But when she left the gangster boss's house and wanted to return to her residence, an accident suddenly happened. Zzz. The sound of sparks suddenly came from the front. Under the shocked eyes of Catwoman Selina, a portal appeared out of thin air, and then a young man with white hair walked out of it and stared at her. What's going on? A wizard. After resurrecting from the dead, Selina knew that there was a mysterious power in this world, but when the mystery appeared in front of her, she couldn't help but be shocked. Selina's tragic childhood experience created an insecure character. When the white-haired man first appeared, she became as alert as a cat and kept baring her teeth. Who are you? Why are you here? And how did you do it just now? Several questions were asked in succession, and her questions finally attracted Su Mu's attention. Where is this place? Su Mu asked while looking at the beautiful woman in front of him. After appearing, he observed the surrounding environment through his 6 eyes. He made some guesses about the situation of the universe, but he still had to confirm it. This is Gotham, a desperate crime city. If you come here by accident, I suggest you leave immediately. This city is not safe. Gotham, it seems that we are in the right place. Faced with the beautiful woman's warning, Su Mu did not make any response. How dangerous can Gotham be? Can the celestial group be in danger? He smiled and said to the girl in front of him, I'm afraid that won't work. I just fought a giant the size of a planet. I think he should be more dangerous than Gotham. Seeing the girl's suspicious expression, Su Mu smiled slightly, but did not explain, but continued, have you heard of Iron Man and Captain America? Selina looked speechlessly at the man in front of her who was talking nonsense, fighting a giant the size of a planet. Who was she kidding? Although she labeled the mysterious man in front of her as unreliable, the way he appeared was still too mysterious. Selina didn't want to cause trouble, so she said honestly. Isn't that from Marvel Comics? Marvel Comics. It seems that the current one is the DC Universe. I just don't know whether it is the comic version or the movie version. But my will is to yearn for the movie version, so even if it is not the movie version, it should be a version close to it. Quote. After thinking for a moment, Su Mu said gently to the girl who was quietly trying to escape. Miss, I'm new here and I'm not familiar with everything. Can't you take me in for a while? Of course, I will pay you a fee that satisfies you. Quote. Selina didn't even think about it before she wanted to reject him. He was a mysterious and unreliable presumptuous mage. These troublesome labels meant that the man in front of her was definitely a very troublesome guy. She should stay as far away as possible. But the many priceless jewels and gold that appeared in the hands of the mysterious man next made Selina stop. Her body was out of her control. She stared straight at the jewels in front of her and nodded constantly. Okay, you can stay at my house as long as you want. After a brief exchange with the girl, Su Mu couldn't help but sigh at his good luck. The first person he saw when he first appeared in the DC universe was Catwoman. She was obviously very immature at this time, and she should have just obtained the extraordinary ability, and she didn't have Future's unique tight-fitting leather outfit, which was why Su Mu didn't recognize her immediately. Because of the large amount of jewelry, Catwoman Selina gave her room to Su Mu while she slept in the living room. So Su Mu checked his current status surrounded by the faint fragrance of the girl. Open the system panel, and a lot of information is refreshed on it. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. Template fusion degree, 47%. You have unlocked a new skill, Unknown Wings Colorless. Unknown wings colorless LV1 1/100th manipulate the phase power in space to form an advanced version of colorless wings, which greatly enhances the user's strength. During the battle with Aletham, Su-Mu continuously absorbed the huge energy from the gods and the energy from the 3 infinite rough stones, and obtained a large number of energy points. After investing all these energy points into the template fusion degree, the template fusion degree was obtained. A substantial increase, now reaching 47%. And because the template fusion degree exceeded 40%, Su-Mu awakened a new skill, Unknown Wings Colorless. And in addition, in the subsequent battles, he continued to use various skills, so that the experience value of each skill was greatly improved, and one important skill was upgraded again. Virtual Type. Xing, Experience +1. Congratulations, your virtual skill, C, has been upgraded. Virtual Style. C, LV3 1/1000th overlap the homeopathic spell, Kang, and the reverse spell, He, to form an imaginary mass, releasing energy waves that can cut space, allowing for fine manipulation of the imaginary mass. After the virtual type, Xing, was upgraded to level 3, the power was not only greatly improved, Su-Mu also became easier to operate the imaginary mass. He can use the virtual form, Xing, to perform more precise operations. The LV2 virtual form, Xing, can only allow him to perform rough operations, such as converting a sphere into a bar shape to form a sword, but it is actually extremely crude. It is better to say that it is a sword than a long bar. After level 3, Su-Mu can completely change the virtual style, C, into the shape of a sword, and even carve patterns on the sword to make it more refined. He can even transform the virtual style, C, into millimeter-thick thin lines, which can target targets. Make discrete cuts. He can also control the power of the virtual, C. Initially, his virtual, C, showed its maximum power. Now he can control the virtual, C, to come into contact with other things without causing damage to them. The improvement of virtual style, Xing, has brought a big improvement to Su-Mu. In other words, every upgrade of each skill above level 3 will bring a big transformation to Su-Mu. However, although skills can continuously improve Su-Mu's strength, Su-Mu still needs to improve the template fusion as soon as possible. Compared with skills, templates are his foundation. He can obtain more skills from templates, and when the template fusion reaches 100%, he will completely master the skills obtained from templates and will no longer be restricted by the system. What's more, if the next template is a Saiyan template that can easily explode stars, his strength will undergo a qualitative change. This is much simpler than working hard to practice skills and improve skills and experience. While Su-Mu was thinking, a beautiful figure walked in wearing a bath towel. As usual, she wanted to change into pajamas in the bedroom, but today was different. She forgot that there was an extra guest in the small cat room. The two of them stared at each other in the bedroom. Su-Mu rudely took away the beautiful scenery in front of him and stared at the sinful pair without concealment. I have to say, Catwoman is still very capable. Being stared at unabashedly by a strange man she had just met, even Catwoman felt unwell. If the man in front of her was not her financial backer and his origin was very mysterious, she might have directly put the hateful man in front of her into a coma. However, without knowing the identity of the mysterious man, the cautious cat will not take action easily. It looks like Anne Hathaway doesn't scream like an ordinary girl, or in other words, there are no ordinary girls in the city of Gotham, let alone the best among them, Catwoman. Selina glared at Su-Mu, subconsciously pulled the towel upwards, and warned. Sir, have you seen enough? An ordinary person would definitely look away and apologize for his presumption, but Su-Mu was different. He was a person who did as he pleased, which was simply called shameless. Not only did Su-Mu not apologize, but she continued to stare at the beautiful scenery in front of her. Of course not. The beautiful scenery always makes people unable to take their eyes away. Seeing that the Catwoman in front of her did not act excessively, Su-Mu understood that the jewelry she brought from the Marvel Universe had played its due role. The greedy cat could never resist these sparkling things. Catwoman wanted to say something more, but was interrupted by Su-Mu. I have just arrived in this universe and I am lacking a capable subordinate. Do you want to be my secretary? Catwoman refused without hesitation. No way, I am free and will not serve anyone. But the many precious jewels that appeared in Su Emu's hand firmly attracted her attention, and her words of rejection were stuck in her mouth, and she couldn't say it anyway. Seeing the cat with glowing eyes in front of her, Su Emu showed a devilishly seductive look on her face, and took out more jewelry and put it in her hands. The precious jewelry shone under the light. "You are sure these jewels are only the reward for 1 month's work, and in addition to these vulgar possessions, I may also give you power. In Gotham, or in this world, it is impossible to have no power." The symbiote was squirming behind Su Emu like tentacles, seeming to wrap around and devour the Catwoman in front of Su Emu. In the end, Catwoman agreed with Su Emu's words and accepted the power of the symbiote. She undoubtedly made a wise choice. After all, Su Emu was not one of those gentlemen. He didn't mind forcibly controlling Catwoman. After all, she was a slim and beautiful woman. Who doesn't want a beautiful secretary? Be a secretary when you have something to do and be a secretary when you have nothing to do. This was the life Su Emu wanted most in his previous life. As for the twisted melon, it's not sweet, but it quenches your thirst. Su Emu did not take any action in the next few days. He wanted to confirm the current time. The newly accepted secretary is indeed very capable. Not only is she wrong Nida, but she is also extremely capable. Whether it is helping Su Emu relax or collecting current intelligence, Su Emu has gained a lot from the busy Catwoman during this period. Among them is information about the current point in time. The information obtained from Catwoman is partially different from the information in the movie universe that Su Emu knows, but not too much. The current universe should be a parallel universe that is closer to the movie universe. Currently, the Master is active in Gotham, fighting crime. Countless criminals always hide away wherever the Batlight lights up. And many villains such as the Joker and the Penguin gradually appeared on the stage, and they became happy friends who loved each other. Superheroes from other cities also gradually emerged, such as Aquaman who lives in a seaside town, the speedster Flash who appeared in Central City, and Wonder Woman who was once active on the battlefield, etc. What Su Emu cares about is that there is not much information about Superman, and there is no Black Zero incident at present, which also means that Superman has not been exposed and General Zod has not invaded the Earth. This makes Su Emu a little excited. After all, kryptonians can obtain powerful energy from the radiation of the yellow sun. As long as a few kryptonians are captured, the energy will be endless. However, this is also Su Emu's backup plan. After all, kryptonians are not convenient to carry, not to mention the resistance of kryptonians. Even if Su Emu is stronger than kryptonians now, he does not want to suppress those supermen with steel bodies all the time. So at present, Su Emu's main goal is still on the 3 mother boxes on the Earth. These devices made of X elements have many abilities, one of which is energy transfer, which can provide users with energy continuously. Although it is not as good as the Infinity Stones, which is an infinite source of energy, the energy in it should not be underestimated. It will be Su Emu's main source of energy in the DC universe. At this time, the 3 mother boxes were managed by different races, one of which was managed by humans, one was kept by Atlantis, and the other was kept by the Amazons living on Paradise Island. Because of crossing different multiverses, the portal was suppressed. Su Emu needed to use energy absorption to adapt to the energy in the DC multiverse, so the portal lost the ability to open the door as Su Emu thought, so that Su Emu could not open the door directly to the location of the mother box. It is worth mentioning that in addition to the portal, all other abilities have more or less changed, but these abilities are recovering rapidly under Su Emu's adaptation, and do not affect his frontal combat effectiveness. During this period, Catwoman, who was parasitized by the symbiote, kept wandering in various cities. His ability to obtain the symbiote was greatly improved. Although he could not confront Superman head-on, he should be able to face the current Aquaman without losing the wind. As for the old man, if he did not make an appointment to fight, Catwoman could beat him, but if he did, even Su Emu thought he would not be the opponent of the old man. It is also known that the old man never loses in a fight, which is almost a rule at the causal level. As Catwoman continued to collect information, Su Emu finally gained something. Catwoman nestled in Su Emu's arms like a cat, her face full of post-climax blush. Although the new boss kept squeezing her to conduct various investigations during this period, she stayed in the room and didn't know what to think, but she didn't complain. The first reason was that the new boss gave her a very generous reward. Those precious jewels were taken out as if they were free, and then stuffed into the milky white snow mountain. The second reason was that the new boss gave her power. Even if she became Catwoman and gained the dexterity of a cat, her combat power was still limited. After symbiosis with the seemingly disgusting viscous liquid, her power was greatly improved, like a Superman. This sense of power made her, who lacked a sense of security since childhood, addicted to it. The third reason was that the new boss was rich and could meet all her physiological needs, constantly bringing her to the peak, making her linger. If there were no tasks, she really wanted to experience this feeling all the time. At this time, Catwoman reported to Sumu while humming softly. "Well, I found Lois Lane and confirmed that she will go to the countryside of Metropolis in a few days to try to interview Clark. Well, but I didn't find any trace of Cyborg, and there is no clue about the trace of Paradise Island you mentioned. I can confirm that there is indeed a man who can live in the sea in the small town of Eris in Sicily. The locals call him Aquaman. I think he should be the one you want to find." "Well done." Sumu worked hard to pile and fiddle with the glutinous rice in the pipe, splashing a lot of water, while thinking about the next plan. Lois Lane is ready to interview Clark, so the plot of Superman is about to unfold. This must not be missed. This is the only chance to capture kryptonians. As for the trace of Cyborg, Sumu was not surprised. He may not have become Cyborg at this time, or he may have hidden himself and isolated himself from the world. In short, it is very difficult to find him. If you want to get the mother box, you might as well start from Atlantis and Paradise Island. Among them, Atlantis, which is the easiest to get the location, is undoubtedly Sumu's first choice. As for the Atlantean rebellion, the devil never considered that. A few days later, NASA's emergency rescue satellite discovered an anomaly. The relevant staff approaching found a strange signal from Elsmith, and then sent soldiers to investigate. The soldiers who arrived at the North Pole discovered a strange signal: alien spacecraft. This is a vast white world, cold and desolate, covered by ice and snow all year round. This place is extremely unsuitable for human survival. Even if there is sufficient heating equipment, there is always the danger of freezing to death. But today, something deeply buried in this desolate ice field attracted the attention of the outside world. Soldiers from the American Empire camped nearby to explore what the big thing under the glacier was. In a tent, even if the heating device is running all the time, it still cannot dispel the severe cold. But even so, acquaintances are still working together in front of them. They are extremely curious about things under the glacier. This strong curiosity is enough for them to ignoring the severe cold. They continued to discuss happily. At this time, the future heroine, Lois Lane, a powerful heroine who can take on superhuman labor with her physical body, came to the military camp to negotiate with the American soldiers. She is worthy of being a woman who can subdue Superman. She can face a colonel alone without losing her momentum, even making Colonel Hardy, who is in charge of this area, surrender. Lois Lane came to the laboratory and listened to a staff member's explanation with Dr. Amy Hamilton and Colonel Hardy. Ice shelves seriously interfere with callback detection, but there must be something there. The ice around that thing is nearly 20,000 years old. Speaking of this, the acquaintances present showed expressions of disbelief. At that time, humans were still in a period of ignorance and could not even live in today's environment, let alone create such huge creations. Could it be that they are really traces left by aliens, or are they the ruins left by ancient civilizations? The light in Lois Lane's eyes became brighter and brighter. She thought this was definitely an incredible discovery. At night, the surrounding environment was even colder. Although the soldiers did not let her walk around, as a woman who could fight Superman head-on without losing, Lois Lane would not be so obedient. She braved the cold wind. At night I ran out and used my camera to take a picture, but I found a human figure walking towards the distance. So she followed curiously, and was knocked away by a robot, and then a strange man destroyed the robot. This man was very special. He only wore a tattered white sweater in the low temperature of -40 degrees, but he did not feel cold at all. Lois Lane felt very scared. No one could help him underground. The man's bestiality was so strong that even if the two of them fought fiercely for hundreds of rounds, no one would notice. After falling, gasping and screaming, it was over. Clark is still very gentle. Although Lois Lane bleeds because of him, he is still responsible. He not only helps Lois stop the bleeding but also sends her back to the outside world safely with messy hair. Afterwards, the spacecraft flew out and disappeared, and Lois Lane, who was saved by Superman, was also lying in the glacier and was found and rescued by a helicopter. Everything seems to have come to an end here, but what they don't know is that terrifying alien forces have discovered the existence of the Earth through the signals sent by the spacecraft, and the bloody invasion from the universe is about to begin. In Gotham, while continuing to exercise happily, Su-Emu's training has not stopped. The most important thing for him at the moment is to improve the level of his 6 eyes. As the level of his 6 eyes increases, he will gain more refined energy control and analysis capabilities. This allows him to adapt to the energy of different worlds faster and restore the ability of the portal to travel anywhere at will. The system prompts are constantly refreshed. 6 eyes experience +1. 6 eyes experience +1. 6 eyes experience +1. Finally, with Selina's violent trembling, the level of Luyan was improved. 6 eyes experience +1. Congratulations, your skill 6 eyes has been upgraded. 6 eyes LV5 1/20,000th. It has a 360-degree long-distance viewing angle, can see the flow of energy, amazing dynamic vision, and perspective ability, allowing the holder to perform absolutely fine energy operations, and even ignore the law of energy conservation. Reduce energy consumption. A large amount of information emerged in Su-Emu's mind and was absorbed by him. Holding the sweaty body in his arms, Su-Emu absorbed all the memories in his mind for a moment, and then he discovered the changes in himself. The visualization has been greatly expanded again, expanded 10 times. The fine field of view of the 6 eyes of LV4 is 10 kilometers, and the blurred field of view reaches 100 kilometers. Now the fine field of view of the 6 eyes of LV5 reaches 100 kilometers, and the blurred field of view is 1000 kilometers. And today's Luyan's ability and vision can be improved with the enhancement of energy. If Su-Emu injects a large amount of energy into the Luyan, the field of vision can even be expanded several times again. And, more importantly, the 6 eyes have a new feature. In the world of spell return, 6 eyes can enable the host to release spells with almost no unnecessary loss, greatly increasing the host's endurance. Because of this characteristic, Gojo Satoru can perform field expansion multiple times a day, and the spell power in his body is extremely difficult to exhaust. However, because the energy in Su-Emu's body is too huge, it is not at the same level as Gojo Satoru. Therefore, even the LV3 6 eyes of the same level as Gojo Satoru cannot do it with almost no unnecessary loss. Only the LV4 6 eyes after another upgrade can do it. There is almost no unnecessary loss. However, after upgrading again, the 6 eyes have undergone qualitative changes again. The 6 eyes can not only use all of Su-Emu's energy in skills without unnecessary loss, but can even reduce the energy value originally required by the skills. It seems like this, but in fact, this ability has reached the level of cause and effect. This also means that Su-Emu's skills will permanently reduce part of the consumption, but the power of the skills can achieve the original effect. This does not comply with the law of conservation of energy. Su-Emu had high expectations for this feature, but the 6 eyes at level 5 had such terrifying features, so what kind of features would they have when the 6 eyes reach a higher level? As the level of the 6 eyes increases, will it reach a point where you can use unlimited skills without consuming energy? Holding down Selina, who was cleaning up the milk spilled on the ground, Su-Emu spotted a humanoid creature flying at high speed in a wider field of vision. Injecting energy into the 6 eyes, the creature's appearance gradually became clearer. A large amount of light from the yellow sun continued to interact with his body, strengthening his muscles and various senses, strengthening his body seemingly endlessly. And this man floating in the air, shouting and disturbing people's dreams, is Superman Clark. It seemed that he was flying using a biological force field for the first time, and he looked very excited. Seeing Su-Emu's contemplative look, which seemed not to be focused on herself, Selina was a little angry. She pouted and placed the boss's arm in the milky white snow mountains, trying to attract the boss's attention and give her more pleasure. "Boss, what are you thinking about?" Selina whispered into Su-Emu's ear with a sweet voice, her tone full of charm and coquettishness. But her idea was doomed to fail. What she just discovered made Su-Emu lose the idea of continuing to exercise and calm down. Superman has obtained the suit and can fly. He already knows the current timeline. General Zod and others are about to arrive, the Black Zero incident is about to begin, and his toolmen are also about to arrive. Su Mu pinched Selena's cute little face and was about to kiss her, but when she saw the milk stains on the corner of her mouth, she stopped her thoughts and kissed her on the forehead instead. Selena, I'll give you the rest of the reward later. We have something to do. Selena looked dissatisfied with her desires, but she knew that she could not change Su Mu's decision, so she could only ask curiously. What's the matter? Catch some aliens to use as batteries. This is a battery famous in the universe. The Kryptonians have agreed to use the batteries. Selena. A few days after Su Mu discovered Superman, a spacecraft fell from the sky and invaded the global network. Mosaics continued to appear on all screens connected to the network. A man's figure loomed in the mosaic, calling Kal-El's name and threatening to destroy the Earth if Kal-El was not handed over. Clark cooperated with the military in order to protect the Earth, and then came to the Kryptonian spacecraft, where he discovered General Zod's plan to transform the entire Earth's ecology into an environment suitable for Kryptonian life. But once this happens, all people on Earth will die because they cannot adapt to the changed ecology. This was undoubtedly something Clark couldn't stand. He and Lois Lane escaped back to Earth, but as soon as they returned to land, Clark discovered that his mother had been abducted by the Kryptonians. He immediately rushed into the sky towards his mother. He then fought with General Zod, shattering his helmet, making him unable to adapt to the suddenly enhanced senses and losing his ability to fight, forcing him to evacuate. However, several Kryptonians remained, including Fiora, the Kryptonian deputy commander. The American Imperial Army has also arrived at this time, but the weapons they are proud of are no match for the Kryptonians. Neither machine guns nor missiles can harm them in the slightest, leaving Superman to deal with them. But facing such a large number of Kryptonians, Superman was temporarily at a disadvantage. The general looked at the reports from the front line and couldn't help but fall into despair. Is mankind really going to become extinct? But at this moment, he spotted two figures slowly walking towards the battlefield from the surveillance satellite footage. They were as calm as if they were going on an outing. Neither explosions nor stray bullets could harm them at all. Soldier, focus the camera here. Who are they? Su Mu slowly walked towards the battlefield. The nano symbiote on his body continued to squirm, forming his favorite white-sleeved shirt. He put the sunglasses formed by the nano robot on his face, and he was wearing the same nano symbiote as the one next to him. Selena, who was wearing a coat, looked into the distance. The Kryptonians continue to wreak havoc on the battlefield, destroying human homes, and human technology has no ability to resist them. Selena was a little unsure. Boss, can we really capture these Kryptonians? They are all monsters. Su Mu looked at the Kryptonians in front of him with greedy eyes. He wiped the non-existent saliva from the corner of his mouth and responded. Selena, be more confident. The nano-symbiote in you has gained part of my power. Now you can defeat ordinary Kryptonians. Su Mu pointed his finger at Selena's chest, and the terrifying energy was transmitted from his fingertips to the symbiote, completely activating the nanosymbiote. You have 20 minutes, but it's enough, go on, Catwoman. The endless power came out of her body, making Selena moan involuntarily. She shook her hand and felt the current power, which was more than dozens of times higher than the original power. The originally fast Kryptonian suddenly slowed down in her eyes, and the power that she thought was extremely terrifying before was just like this. She kissed her boss, then disappeared from the spot, and instantly appeared in front of Fiona, knocking her away with one punch. Wow, so cool. She looked at her small fist and said excitedly. Although Catwoman was extremely fast at this time, the surveillance satellite still captured the scene of her knocking Fiona away. Seeing that the Kryptonian who was helpless even with missiles was hit by the woman who suddenly appeared, the general asked the soldiers around him. Who is this woman who suddenly appeared? The well-trained soldiers searched through Selena's appearance and immediately got the relevant information. Sir, she is Catwoman, a superhuman who has recently appeared in Gotham and is both good and evil. However, in the information, she has not much difference from humans in terms of strength except for the agility of a cat, but I don't know why she has become so powerful now. Suddenly became so powerful, the general murmured, and then turned his eyes to the man who was walking towards another Kryptonian step by step. Could it be him? The soldier's next words verified his guess. Sir, we didn't find the information of that man, not even similar information, as if he is not a human from Earth. Clark is fighting with the Kryptonian. In the past, he had never encountered an enemy with a similar physique to his own, and the battles were all based on absolute numerical crushing. That is why he had no combat experience and relied entirely on instinctive boxing. At this time, poor Clark was besieged by two Kryptonians. Facing the Kryptonians who did not follow martial ethics, he was hit hard in various weaknesses. Among them, poor little Clark was hit hard many times. It may be that he thought Clark was bigger than himself, so he became jealous, so that the male Kryptonian kept attacking Clark's weaknesses. After being hit many times, even from the outside of the armor, it can be seen that little Clark is really swollen. However, it may be that seeing the amazing little Clark, Fiora subconsciously clamped her legs, and even the strength of the attack weakened. It is worthy of being a big coon who is only slightly smaller than the reader. If it weren't for the reappearance of IQ, Krypton's deputy commander Fiora would have been charmed and turned against by this big coon. Just when Clark was being beaten, a figure suddenly appeared and punched Fiora, who was attacking Clark, away, and its speed was even faster than Fiora. Fiora was suddenly hit in the chest by a punch, and the plane that was not prominent immediately turned into a canyon, which looked very pitiful. This canyon was too deep, and even the strong recovery speed of the Kryptonians could not make the canyon recover quickly. Looking at the woman wrapped in two mines in front of her who was dancing happily, Fiora felt like she was going to explode. Even the valley in her chest returned to normal and became larger, achieving a qualitative breakthrough from nothing to A. She looked at the human woman in front of her with jealousy. Wouldn't it be heavy to be wrapped in two mines? Wouldn't it be a burden in battle? She really has no talent for fighting, she said to Selena viciously. It seems that this planet is not without strong people. At least you are one, but you are still too weak and are not my opponent. Just after the contact, Fiora found that the Earth woman in front of her was also a person with almost no combat experience. Although her speed and strength were even stronger than hers, she could still win the battle with her combat experience. In the face of Fiora's words, Selena puffed up her chest and looked at Fiona's barren airport with disdain. Who was better and who was worse was obvious at a glance. After Su-Emu's development over this period of time, Selena's already strong strength has been further developed. At this time, she has become a terrifying E-level strongman. A mere A is not Selena's opponent at all. Just relying on your 2A, Selena said disdainfully. After being strengthened by the boss, she is very confident. You fool, I will tear your stinky mouth apart and chop up your two useless pieces of meat. Fiora's defense was immediately broken. This was the pain of her life. It was even more sad to be mentioned by Selena at this time. She immediately fell into anger and attacked Selena. But when the two came into contact, Fiora was immediately knocked away. Why is your physique so strong? Who are you? Fiora said in disbelief. Under the refined control of the Six Eyes and energy absorption, no symbiote can absorb the ability in Su-Emu's body, but as long as he actively stores part of his ability in the symbiote can use it. However, due to his overpowered ability, the symbiote cannot bear a large amount of information and can only store a small part of a skill. However, under the energy enhancement of Su-Mu, the symbiote can briefly exert most of Su-Emu's power. At this time, the ability obtained by the symbiote that coexists with Selena is LV5 energy absorption. Even if the full power of the LV5 symbiote cannot be exerted, it is enough to crush these Kryptonians who have just arrived on Earth. The surrounding energy is absorbed by Selena, whether it is sunlight or impact. Fiora's attack cannot cause any harm to her, but her power can easily break the defense. Poor Fiora is not only inferior in size, but also in strength. Clark is fighting with another Kryptonian warrior at this time. Without Fiora, the other Kryptonian warrior is gradually not Clark's opponent. Inadvertently, Clark was punched away by the Kryptonian warrior, and kept rolling on the road, forming a gully, and finally stopped right in front of Su-Mu. He immediately stood up and persuaded Su-Mu beside him. Leave here quickly, it's dangerous here. After saying that, he prepared to face the attack of the Kryptonian warrior, but before he could fight back, he found that the Kryptonian warrior suddenly flew out, crashed into dozens of houses and buried in the ruins, and there was no movement for a long time. Clark immediately ducked aside, then turned his head to look behind him. He immediately noticed something unusual. His clairvoyance was actually ineffective on the man in front of him, as if the man's body was entirely made of lead. "Are you from Earth?" Clark asked uncertainly. At some point, Suemu's clothes changed and turned into Batman. He said to Superman in a deep tone, "You're the one who attracted these Kryptonian invaders." Being suddenly questioned, Superman remained silent. After all, what the man in front of him said was the truth. "Who are you?" Under the influence of energy absorption, the sunlight around Suemu dimmed, and his whole body seemed to be shrouded in darkness, like a ghost in the night, infecting the sunlight and stripping away the Kryptonian's source of power. He is mysterious and majestic, calm and restrained, like a cold-blooded bat, a hunter in the night. Suemu's tone became more profound. "I am the Dark Knight who protects the world. I am Batman. Clark Kent, I know you. It was you who attracted the invaders. I hope there will be no next time." Clark looked at the Batman in front of him in shock. He knew Batman, a superhero active in Gotham, and he had great respect for this hero who carried out the principle of non-killing. After all, he had the same style. He is also an ahimsa. However, in his perception, Batman is just an ordinary person with a strong body. He may have some high technologies, but he will not have superhuman physical fitness. Perhaps knowing what Clark was thinking, the man who looked like Batman said in a profound tone, "Your vision is too narrow. There are too many ways to gain power in this world. Among them is a special kind of kryptonite called platinum kryptonite. It can transform ordinary people into Kryptonians. But I just used technology. I drank the super soldier potion with the power of 1,000,000 stars, and I can exert the power of 1,000,000 stars." Clark was stunned. "You must know that the source of Kryptonian power is only the irradiation of the yellow sun. How powerful would it be if one person had the power of millions of stars?" Suemu ignored Superman and walked towards the Kryptonian warrior who was struggling to get up. "Clark, I can help you clean up the mess this time, but I don't want to see it next time." As soon as he finished speaking, Suemu's body disappeared from the place and appeared in front of the Kryptonian warriors at a terrifying speed that even Clark couldn't catch. It is teleportation after all. Suemu smiled at the Kryptonian warrior who was about to get up, raised his foot and stepped down suddenly. Cracks of hundreds of meters spread rapidly toward the distance with the Kryptonian warrior as the center, and the surrounding land suddenly sank several meters. The Kryptonian warrior who was attacked by Suemu had his eyes split open and almost wanted to coma. Suemu was not satisfied with the effect of this kick. He increased the power of the energy enhancement, and then kicked it down again. The sound of intensive bone cracking and ground breaking could be heard endlessly. The Kryptonian warrior who could entangle with Clark immediately fell into a coma. Among them, it seems that there is more air coming out and less air coming in. Suemu nodded with satisfaction and pulled the Kryptonian warrior slowly outside. At this time, Selena defeated Fiora and pulled her to walk with Suemu. Selena was very excited to see Suemu. She suddenly fell in love with the feeling of fisting her flesh. Of course, she also knew who brought this power, so she came to Suemu and kissed Suemu's fake butt and chin. "Boss, how did I do?" "Very good, I will reward you well when you get back." The kitten's face is reddish. Suemu glanced at Clark one last time, left a sentence of mousetail juice, opened the portal and disappeared into the town. Clark stared dumbly at the portal that suddenly appeared and the two Kryptonian warriors who were instantly defeated. Is this the power of millions of stars? It's so terrifying. What happened in Smallville was broadcast live on the entire network. The Kryptonians were briefly defeated and everyone cheered. Especially the appearance of Batman and Catwoman at the end attracted a large number of fans. "Oh, Batman is so cool. I've never admired someone so much. Yes, Catwoman also has a great figure. When you look at that alien woman, you are almost going crazy with jealousy. I didn't expect Batman to be so powerful. I always thought he was an ordinary person." "Me too, but with the facts before us, we have to believe that Batman is the real god on Earth." On a tree-lined hillside, the luxurious manor is wrapped in lush trees. This is the residence of Gotham's richest man and the home of Batman, Wayne Manor. In the kitchen of the manor, Bruce Wayne picked up a spoon and remained motionless. He had remained in this position for several minutes. The same was true for the butler on the side. Both of them stared blankly at the reports on the TV show. At this time, Bruce Wayne only had one thought in his mind. You are Batman, then who am I? Alfred looked away and looked at Bruce strangely. He hesitated for a moment and said uncertainly, Master, I am not a mole. You can tell me anything. Bruce Wayne couldn't swallow it in one breath and was almost choked by the food he ate. He looked at his butler in disbelief, and then retorted, Alfred, you know, I haven't been anywhere in Gotham lately. That's not me, it's someone pretending to be me. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.